We all go through chapters in our lives, some stranger than others. Introducing Strange Chapters, a podcast creation from the producers of The Unseen Paranormal. Strange Chapters features true stories of the strange, the macabre, the paranormal, or the supernatural from a different author every Friday. Strange Chapters is available on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcast or music. So sit back, relax, and let's get strange. Check out this clip from an all-new episode of Strange Chapters. The witch, however, eventually struck. One freezing night, Kate asked to lie in William's bed. He heard her say she wanted to spend the night with him and keep him warm. William told her that if she wanted to sleep in his bed, she needed to behave herself, and Kate agreed to these terms. She did not keep her word. That night, while William was sleeping, Kate pulled the covers from off him, exposing his body. He awoke to her crawling closer and closer to him. As this was happening, he had an idea. Rather than panicking and forcing her away, William moved to grab the spirit and wrap her in the bed sheets she was on top of. He then ran to throw her into the fire, hoping to burn her. Unfortunately, he was unsuccessful. William claimed that as he approached the fire, the weight of the entity got heavier and heavier, and that a horrible smell came from the bed sheets. He had to drop the witch and run for his life into the freezing outdoors. Discover past and future episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Spreaker, and anywhere else you get your music or podcast. Join us as we dive into the history, hauntings, and high strangeness of the world to try to better understand the paranormal. I will be your guide. I am paranormal researcher and investigator Eric Freeman Sims. Welcome to the Unseen Paranormal Podcast. What's up, everybody? I don't know why that was on a loop. I turned that off earlier, but how's it going? I'm your host, Eric, as usual, with the Unseen Paranormal Podcast. We are welcoming Trevor and Riley from What Goes Bump in the Night podcast here this evening. And what we're going to do with this and with our other live streams that we're going to do here soon, the first hour or so audio will go on to the audio-only podcast apps. And then if people listen there, they can come over and catch the live stream, the rest of it. Because usually me and these guys, we talk for a couple of hours at least. And so, but I'll put the first hour up on the podcast. So without further ado, let's bring these guys in. There's Mr. Trevor, Mr. Riley. What's up, guys?
What's going on, Eric?
We're living our best lives.
Those dweebs, Creepy Confidential in the chat. What's going on, y'all?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for tuning in.
Cool.
Do we? Is it me? Maybe. I don't hear it personally.
I can hear myself and I can hear you echoing.
Sounds like it's gone now.
Okay, yeah, we're good.
Sounds like a StreamYard glitch. There was a
that was in the Matrix. You can turn that shit on, but like, fuck yeah,
it's
all good.
You know,
it's high tech bullshit.
I am, as you can tell, I'm just getting over the flu. So
I think actually he's getting over.
Man, a lot of people have been sick the past week or so. My girlfriend was sick with the vid for all of New Year's.
So you mean
better now though?
Walking zombie?
Pretty much. It's the worst.
Yeah. I was glad to have the flu actually, not COVID. I've had it a couple of times and it's not fun. But
how many years do you think we're out from the zombie virus actually happening? I'm saying there's 30 years until it actually happens.
Well, if they could keep creating viruses like COVID in a lab, then
that's what I'm saying. See, I'm not the only one that has this conspiracy thought.
Yeah. Hey, The Last of Us, I think, is the closest like of how it could happen, in my opinion.
Yeah. From like a fungus. Yeah, like the cordyceps. I think that's what those fungi are called. They take over the ants and the wasps and stuff.
There's fungus among us.
We're gonna change
just gonna turn us into complete fucked up creatures.
I got a new mug. People always comment on coffee mugs.
Cool. I love that mug.
This is actually handmade. I got it in Pigeon Forge. It's actually handmade by a Navajo lady, and her name is actually carved in the bottom.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah.
That's actually really fucking cool.
That's a cool skull cup. Yeah, I've seen it in a minute.
Yeah, different images all around it.
Let's go. The detail.
Yeah, but yeah, other than being sick, I've still been working. You know, no rest for the wicked. Yeah. So, Yeah, I just wanted to have y'all back on. It's been forever since I've had y'all on my show. I've been on y'all's show not too long ago.
Yeah, recently.
And yeah, y'all been busy as well.
Yeah, we've been busy. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We're still backlogged too.
Yeah. Well, he's still working on a video, and then we're gonna work on one together because I wasn't there, so I want to help work on it.
Sir.
So we have our video coming out Friday, which is at Honest to Goodness Tattooed and Piercings, where we had a crazy paranormal investigation.
Yes, sir.
And super excited for that. Like, I got touched.
We heard voices.
My shirt got tugged. We caught voices. We heard loud thumps. Like, it was crazy. Noises above us.
We cinematically made it look masterful.
Yeah, and I would have to say,
I didn't do it. Like, you did it.
we're definitely figuring out like the filming aspect of creating paranormal content.
Yeah, it felt like we're investigating here. We took it up to the next level, and we were like, all right, let's not be monkeys about how we record, and like let's do it properly, and
make sure we get the shot
and pay attention to what we're doing, like to like a more of a finite detail where it's like, all right, we've done a really good job of like always stepping up our game every time we've done it. So it was like the footage was easy peasy to edit down and make it look good, and everything flowed really well together. Because the night itself, like that's exactly what happened. Like it paved its own story, and like you could just see it even flow, and like I don't know, like, it just
there's little minute details that like you might not even notice about the episode in general is like little things that we said earlier in the night taking meaning later.
Yeah.
Like I think
it's like foreshadowing, but we were not.
Yeah, it's really wild. But we obviously had no idea any of that stuff was gonna happen. Like the segue out of the like exit interview for Lindsay, who works there, Trevor goes, "We're gonna let the building do the speaking for itself." And then later we caught a bunch of
really clear EVPs.
Well, like in the paranormal in general, you get the, coincidences, but they're not. There's no such thing. All, especially when it comes together, like you're saying, stuff happens early in the night, and then it's correlated kind of later on in the night. It's just awesome to get that. And unfortunately, sometimes we can't. It's just a personal experience,
right?
But that's still an experience. And to me, especially in the past few years, I've gotten more into the personal part of it instead of trying to prove, to everybody else. Like I'll put evidence out and stuff, and I put some out here recently, but to get people's opinions, things. But I think it's I think the other thing that I've kind of learned too is, especially with paranormal videos and kind of like what I like that y'all do as well, is it's also about the journey. It's not necessarily about what you capture. It's about the history and the journey, and about getting to go into these places and experience things that other people don't get to.
Right.
So like the general public doesn't get to do the things we get to do. They don't go and get access to some of these places. Like I was just at Brushy Mountain, and we got to go so many other places than if you just go on a day tour.
Right.
And we paid a lot of money to go there for that access, but it's just something that, the general public just doesn't get to do and doesn't get to see. And the thing about Brushy Mountain, the reason that the general public doesn't get to go in like the 3rd and 4th tiers of the prison is because they actually have cells open up there. The 2nd tiers, the cells closed because people like to shit in the toilets.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So if you're a daytime tourist taking your own day tour, you cannot go in any of the cells because there's too many people. These bathrooms haven't worked since the place closed in 2007 or whatever, right? There's no water in them. Yeah. And the employees got to clean that shit out. So
people are ruthless.
Yeah.
You gotta wonder too, like how many times did it happen before they closed those up? Like, was it once, twice? Like, or did they let it happen a lot before they're like, motherfucker?
Apparently, it happened a lot. The lady that was I forget her name, but that was there's like the chaperone.
Yeah,
and she's like, I'm not cleaning anybody's shit out of any toilet. But the thing is, they have because they have a concert venue there too that'll hold like 5,000 people. So they have a huge building full of bathrooms.
Right.
I mean, when you walk into just the men's, it's just there's probably 20 urinals and probably 30 toilets.
but I
So
gotta go poop in the stalls.
yeah,
That
I
doesn't
need to,
work. That doesn't flush. What is
I need
wrong
to,
with you?
yeah, I need to shit where James Earl Ray shat. Like what?
That's called boss energy, where you just decide to just defecate in the stall of a known fucking murderer.
Yeah, but no. Anyway, get back to this seriousness. Going places that other people don't get to go, and also like I said, it's more about the journey and not necessarily the destination. Yeah, we all want to capture when we're putting video out there, like y'all do. Yes, you want to entertain
Right.
in a way without faking shit. But
Exactly.
you want to capture evidence to keep the video rolling and get the
Yeah.
EVPs and things like that, the spirit box, and hopefully capture full body apparitions or shadows and things like that. But
Mm.
it's like fishing. Riley, you're a big
Yeah.
fisherman. You don't
Yeah.
always catch something.
Yeah, and it's all about the time that you have on the boat. It's not about how many fish you catch.
Yeah, I like to always say to people, like, it's always, like, about the history for sure, going to place, but, like, if we get to travel too, like, it's a vacation. Like, it's 1,000,000% a vacation, but you're going to some place that people generally don't think of as a
Right.
location. Like, me and my wife, like, now that we've started doing this together, like, we use going to the Asher Walden house as part of our honeymoon, and it's like, yeah, dude, like, I'm all about that. Like, we had a great time. Think we caught some of the most credible evidence I've ever seen there. Like, it
Yeah.
was incredible that whole night, and we just didn't even realize it.
No, we're like, yeah, that was okay.
This is
And we
poopy.
left. That's
I
what we
slept
thought.
on
And
the
then we
floor,
reviewed the footage like
hot.
every time, and we're just like, wow, this place was actually way crazy. And that's exactly what happened with the tattoo shop too. And it seems like every time we go on an investigation, it ends up being way more because we catch something audio related that wasn't there real time,
Right.
or like we heard something different than how it was actually like giving to us.
Yeah.
Or we missed something completely. Like
I like reviewing a
more.
lot too because it's like me and Riley talked about this recently over the phone where it's like we heard something real time after like my wife and Lindsay both heard it, and then I was like, "Oh, it does say that." When we heard an EVP, Riley was like, "I don't think it says that," but then he heard it back in the the review part of it, and he goes, "I don't know what the fuck I was thinking." And it's like, what is
Like,
that?
yeah,
Like,
I listened
why
to it
can't I
back,
hear it
and
real time like that.
and when I had the headphones on and I was just concentrated on that noise and there wasn't everything else going on around me, like I heard it and I go, how the fuck did I think that was something different? Like it was clearly leave me alone and not what I thought it was, which was gibberish.
Well, I think we've talked about this before about, all three of us could be in the same room and you could have some sort of apparition pop up in front of you and we'll all experience it differently.
Exactly.
In that moment. Like I might see a mist, you might see a shadow figure, one of you might see a full, look like a human solid person. And it's weird how the paranormal is like that. And it's the same thing with audio. You sometimes, especially in the moment, you're gonna hear different things from the spirit box or from EVPs and things like that.
It's also sometimes it comes down to like me just going, nah, that wasn't anything. And then it turns out it was more relative than I thought it was. Like there's so many times I'll hear something over the spirit box. It doesn't matter. I don't think that was anything.
Nothing.
And then you'll hear it back clear, and slow. You could slow it down and everything. And you're like, holy shit. Like it was the answer I literally just asked.
Yeah.
Like how?
Yeah. I had something similar like that happen at Brushy. And we caught this on video and you can hear the EVP as well. On the audio and the video. And but we were walking down this hallway to go to another set of cells in like the segregation unit. And I had my cousin was in front of me and another dude was behind me. And I heard somebody say my name. And so I turned around and asked the dude behind me, "Did you say my name?" He's like, "No." And when we read, and I clearly heard my name. But then when I went to the video and the audio, it doesn't sound like my name. It sounds like nothing. You can hear the voice, and it's like a high pitched voice, but it does not sound like it's saying Eric. And I don't know what it's saying, and it definitely wasn't the guy that was behind me. So
what if too, like it was closer to your ear, but
Right.
like it sounds muffled farther away too? Because I've always wondered that, where it's like if there is an audible sound to any type of equipment that you're using, like even if it's not like top of the line but like you get that wavelength. It's like something happened, something's there.
Yeah.
Like it's debunkable maybe, but like realistically, like
it's hard to debunk when there's a sound wave there, in my opinion.
And when you're like, I vividly remember this. Like this is living rent free in my head.
Because
like
the sound wave is the data proving that there was vibrations.
Right.
Yeah, and I know people have talked about like doing metadata and like pulling like files on people and stuff, and it's like I don't even know how to do that. And I've used my computer for a long time.
Well, I don't think to analyze EVPs you need a degree in audio engineering. I mean, it's not that difficult. I've seen people bring up like, and you can do this in like Audacity, but you can bring up like a spectrograph. Well, I don't need that. I'm with you, Riley. If there's a fucking waveform there, why do I need to go into like a spectrograph where it shows me different colors?
I just
to prove to me
amplify
there's a voice
it
there.
the
Yeah, you know, you can single it out and, like you said, amplify it. And if there's something there, there's something there. I don't need to go digging into like the metadata and the spectrograph to find. Oh, well, there's this one red dot.
Yeah, and it's definitely not a dig on anybody or anything.
Yeah,
it's just like if people are manipulating it, I think it's. I think it's
know how to do it.
Not yet. That too. I wouldn't know anything about how to do it, but like also, it's like it's fucking really happening. Like, why fake it?
Yeah.
Well,
there is so much fake shit out there, though.
But
I mean, there is so much fake shit out there, though. That's ridiculous. There's so much
that is the
clickbait.
sad part.
Yeah. I've kind of gone down the rabbit hole here lately with the debunker videos and watching.
They've been really interesting, honestly. Some of them are insightful. Some of them are just bashful as fuck. There's there's like a little bit of both.
One of the ones that I just watched actually brought up something in science I had no idea was even a thing. I was just telling Trevor about this, and it's kind of relates to what we're talking about in like sound and perception. So like there's this experiment. I don't know what it's called, but it involves a piano.
It's an audio.
What they did is they played a bunch of different notes, and when the notes lined up, it just sounded like a little song. So they would play the song, and you had to try to guess like what word it was actually saying. Because if you add text of the word that it's actually saying using the music, you hear it. And it's the craziest thing ever. You don't hear the word when you don't see the words, but you hear the word when you see the word.
So like how many times are you being led on?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of times that like paranormal investigators still hear something on, especially like the DR60. To me, DR60 just sounds like
yeah.
I'm not a big fan of it. It's $2,000 worth of junk, in my opinion, at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's using that text that some investigators might use to be like, yeah, it's saying this because I'm just making it say that because of the word.
Yeah, or like spirit boxes too. I'll see that and be like, it's very risky, dude. Like, I feel like if you really can't say it, like personally, what it says in real time, or it's like, I don't know, you can't just like forcefully just be like, it says this,
right, right. Yeah, and I know the video you're talking about, Riley. I think they used Britney Spears. I think it was a Britney Spears song or something. The video that I saw.
I was seen a little clip of the like piano part.
Yeah. Yeah, it's well, and we talk about pareidolia all the time.
Yeah,
with seeing images, but you can have pareidolia with audio too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of like some effect like that. It's your brain automatically like finding some type of relation.
Yeah, yeah. And if you listen to white noise long enough, your brain will start trying to make sense of it, and you'll hear shit in the white noise. Now, we kind of do that with spirit boxes in a way. And then I've done the Gansfeld experiment before, and which is nothing but white noise. But I've also had good luck with that stuff with getting actual evidence,
right?
Out of those methods, especially the SS method. I can never get it to work for me. It doesn't work for me. But I've seen it with other people that we've gotten crazy shit out of it.
It's been a fun one for us too. We've pretty much done it at every investigation that
it seems to like pick between like there's like a solid 4 or 5 of us that usually investigate, and it'll pick between all of us like that night who it wants to talk to, and we just got to kind of play Russian roulette with the headphones.
Yeah
It's usually the person that doesn't want to talk.
What's the Gansfeld experiment? So the Gansfeld is Yeah, spelling. It's Gansfield.
Gain Gainfeild or something like
Yeah.
that.
So
Gainsfield.
with
I
the
can't
Gansfield
spell either.
experiment, you put ping pong balls over your eyes, tape them over your eyes, and you stare into a red light, and you listen to white noise. But the thing about the white noise is it changes frequencies, and the volume goes up and down, and it induces almost like hallucinations. And different people see different things and experience different things. You're supposed to just call out what you're seeing, what you're hearing. Um, I don't know if it works. I did it once, and I saw other people do it, and we really didn't get anything that was pertinent to our investigation or the location.
Yeah.
I've had a lot more success with the SS method, like I was saying. There was we did one at Thomas House, Red Bowling Springs, and there was and it wasn't even my team that was doing this, different team, because we had a public ghost hunt that night, and they came up with something about carving names on a stone, and the stone was beneath a tree.
Yeah.
Well, I've been to Thomas House many, many times. That's kind of my home away from home. We've got investigations lined up there for this year, but never heard anything about that. Any of the stories, know the owners really well. So the next morning we went and asked them, and they said, "Oh yeah, we moved in here 30 years ago. There was a big rock with names carved on it under that big giant tree out there, and now it's been covered up because the driveway goes right by there, so it's been covered up with like dirt and gravel. We went out and looked for it, but that kind of solidified my belief in the Estes method, at least
Yeah,
at
where
points
it's
in
like,
time.
that's not a coincidence. It's not.
Yeah.
I remember you telling us that when we had you on stream. That's really
Yeah.
interesting. That
Yeah, there's another
when shit
recent
like
one.
that happens, man. It really is.
It's
hard
mind
to
blowing.
it's hard to
it's
say
hard to throw
what
it out.
actually happened. How would someone
Yeah.
just randomly say that?
How
And
the
most of the
radio
time you're with people, when you're ghost hunting, you're with people you trust. You know what I mean? Like, they're not gonna say anything that
Right.
isn't what's happening to them.
Well, and also the fact that, I've been there so many times. I've probably been there 10 times.
And to never hear that story before.
Yeah, from the owners. And the owner said, "I ain't thought about that since we moved in." Like it was just there, And then the last time something crazy happened was at Old Stone Jail in Franklin, Kentucky. We were doing a public ghost hunt, and I had a family with me, and their 13-year-old daughter wanted to do it. So she put the headphones and blindfold on, and she was in a different room with her mom, and her mom was calling out the answers whenever she would say them. Whatever the girl said, the mom would call out. And we got the name Harriet, and then something about a mirror and a dresser. So we're in a museum, so it could be anything, up in this museum. And they had just turned this upper part into a museum. It used to be storage. And so I hadn't really explored around there, and we're in the dark at this point. And we ended up going downstairs when we're done. And apparently there was the name Harriet was the second wife of the lady the guy who owned Octagon Hall, which is only 5 miles down the road.
Shit.
And they have her dresser and mirror in the museum. I didn't know that. The little girl definitely didn't know that.
How the fuck?
Yeah. So that was pretty crazy.
That doesn't make any sense, Like that's the stuff where it's like, can you really explain that away?
Right.
Like, is that really like, is that my mind playing tricks on me and I'm crazy? Or is
Well,
that
and also, if the little girl knew anything about the history, how would she just randomly come up with the name of the second wife? The guy that owned Octagon Hall, and that piece of furniture actually belonged to the second wife, not the first wife. Or not the guy who owned Octagon. You know what I'm saying? Like it was specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this chick was like 13, her first ghost hunt. Like, yeah. So
when I was 13, I wasn't thinking about ghosts.
I was.
To be so honest, I was not.
I definitely was.
Yeah, I was too.
That's how I spent every day. I got home from school, bro, and it was ghost shows till I went to bed.
I didn't have my first ghostly experience until I was like 16. Yeah, I think I was about 16.
Oh,
No, I was 15.
I was living in an extremely haunted house at the time, so I was solid.
Some of us aren't so lucky.
I don't know if you really consider it lucky, dude.
I'm just joking. There's no way that's lucky.
Well, I'm a little bit older than y'all, so when I was that age, there was no such thing as a ghost show, other than In Search of and with Leonard Nimoy and and things like that. Like, and I always watch Unsolved Mysteries just to see the ghost stuff.
Oh yeah, I
And
love that show too.
yeah, the first ghost show I watched was Most Haunted, and it's an English show, and it's full of shit. It's like the precursor to Zach Baggins. It's the precursor to Zach Baggins because they had a psychic medium on there named Derek Akora. And now granted, I had to download these over like LimeWire. So it would take me 8 hours to download like an episode over dial-up overnight. So I would wait until I found new episodes of Most Haunted. But this psychic named Derek Akura, he would get possessed every episode. And I'm talking like full-blown like soap opera, melodramatic, possessed. And it was just the most ridiculous thing. But it was it's the only ghost hunting. It was the first ghost hunting show I'd ever seen. And I knew it was full of shit, but they still had a parapsychologist on there, Kieran O'Keefe, who he's still around, and he's actually the real deal. But he was always shaking his head and like, I don't believe that, like, and so, but yeah, look up Most Haunted. Their videos are on YouTube. It's ridiculous, but it was entertaining,
right?
And then I think it was 2004. Ghost Hunters came out, and that was after I was already graduated high school.
That's where I started.
And
that's where I started too, is Ghost Hunters.
Yeah. And well, I guess MTV's Fear was probably the first like US ghost show out there. Did you ever see that show?
Oh, I forgot about that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, Fear. That show was crazy.
It was all put on.
It was, but it was filmed so crazy. Like this was,
but it was the first time
night vision was like really a big thing, and they would send these like college kids into these haunted places in the complete darkness with like night vision goggles and like and make them like do like tasks in this place. And it was wild.
It does.
And it was also the first time that you ever saw like Penhurst Asylum and like these super haunted places. Jason Hawes was actually a what do they call him? He was a location scout for them, but he was also a consultant on MTV's Fear. That's how Ghost Hunters got their own TV show, from him working with the production company that put on Fear. And so
that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And now look at how long that series has gone and how far they've come.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Well, I recently lost a lot of respect for him. So him defending his daughter and her man over the whole tapping shit. Have y'all seen that?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't a little bit, but I haven't watched
that claim is real. I don't think it's all bull.
Yeah.
All bull.
It's very easy to discern that.
And like, I don't really like go after anyone for like faking shit usually, because I don't care. But like, these people are using it to get money off of people and touching subjects that they shouldn't be touching on people by researching their people and saying all these things and saying that people are talking to their loved ones, and like all of this emotional shit is just, it's messed up, in my opinion.
Yeah, and if you go back and look in history, what a lot of people don't understand, if you go back and look at the Fox sisters, they're the ones that kicked off the spiritualist movement in the late 1800s by using the same techniques of knocks, and that's how the spirits would communicate with them. And they came out like 30 years later and said it was all bullshit. They made it all up. But that's what kicked off the Victorian spiritualist movement with all the seances and
I can
all
kind of do that little noise with my toe, but it's not as loud.
So what Cody does is he pops the tendon in his ankle. And you can actually watch the videos. There's one debunker who put together what's his name? I think it's Mythos Paranormal on YouTube here.
Yeah, I know.
And he put together a whole string of clips where you can see the tendon popping when the knocks happen. And also one of the things that he caught was because how this all started was with Sam and Colby, fucking Justin Bieber's of the paranormal. They put out there that they were trying to debunk them. Yeah, and they
video that was
but they supposedly tried to debunk them by giving them slippers to put on. But there was in their teaser clip for the debunking video, they showed a quick clip of Cody and Satori in their socks. Well, they never showed them doing it in their socks. like doing the method of knocking. And for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, Cody Desmonds and Tori Hawes, which is Jason Hawes' daughter, they work at the Conjuring House. They supposedly can hold each other's arms or hands.
You just have to touch.
Yeah, and they go through the alphabet A, B, C, and the spirits knock on whatever letter it is, and they spell out stuff. And like Riley was talking about, the problem that I have with it, the same as you, Riley, is that they are using it to prey on people's dead loved
Emotions.
emotions and things like that. And but I lost respect for Jason Hawes. I understand him defending his daughter, but you should be telling her, okay, you're faking this, you need to come out with it. But he has to save face because he's had them on Ghost Hunters doing the same thing. And so it's all about money. It's all money. And
that's what it is, and it's fucked up because like you're trying to make money off of something that nobody knows is real, or like there's no proof of it being real. We all think it is and we want it to be, but I mean there's no actual scientific proof. There isn't like a freaking scientific magazine cover that says ghosts are real today. Like there isn't that out there. So eventually, hopefully there will be, or there won't be. But like when you start making money off preying off people's emotions and claiming things that are, if it was real, insanely groundbreaking.
Right.
For one, you're making the most like outrageous claim that anyone's ever made in the last 2 centuries.
Right.
Because someone did do it before and it's documented. But now you're doing it on like a way bigger scale than they did. Sure, they traveled around and they made their money, but this is a way different scale. We're talking millions and millions of people.
Yeah. Well, and also my thing is, why couldn't you do it barefoot? Why can't you just put a video out if you're doing it barefoot, right?
Right.
And show people, okay, if people are saying you're clicking your toes or you're popping the tendon, if you just did it with shorts on and barefoot.
The location doesn't even matter. You could do it in a freaking Walmart. I don't care.
Right. And just put the video out there and say, this is real. Prove to us that it's real.
We did it.
But they won't.
Barefoot shorted up. I'm too afraid to even
touch goes bump the night went barefoot.
I know I was jealous because I walk around barefoot or flip flops all year long. And so even in the cold, if I have to go out of the house, I put shoes on, of course, but I never have shoes on in my house. And so I was like, I've never been on an investigation where I could go barefoot. And I was like, damn, y'all, you got to do an investigation barefoot.
I'm telling you what, it was a difference maker because with my socks on or just my shoes, I was like 5 degrees hotter.
Yeah.
And it was like 90 degrees in the house. So we're talking almost 100 degrees. I got to be in there all night. I don't have anywhere to go. It's not colder outside.
It was humid too.
I'd go sit in my car, but I don't want to do that. There's a haunted house right here.
Right.
It was awesome. It was rough, but it was like, how do you explain it, Riley? Like it was like the wet blanket feeling the whole night, where it was like
it was like humid and hot at the same time.
It was aggressively hot is probably the best way to say it.
But it was like a weird, it wasn't like Michigan's got kind of a really damp like humidness.
The
stickiness to it. But like this was just like a dry but wet at the same.
Yeah. God damn it.
I don't know. It was like this in between that was just so weird for especially us because it's not what we're used to.
I live in the South. Believe me, in the summer you could cut the fucking air with a knife. That's how humid it is. Like you walk, as soon as you walk out of your house, you're wet. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So what do y'all think about weather affecting paranormal activity?
Huge.
Definitely does.
What do you think makes it? What do you think amps it up more?
I think it's
and lightning,
the electric energy that's already like created by the Earth's like natural forces coming in. I think that's what it all is. Especially like nights that we've investigated that were lightning involved. Any form of lightning. It could be raining. It could not be raining. Doesn't matter. Have been the most like active nights that we've ever been on.
Yep.
But also full moons play huge. The moon phases play a huge factor into that. Like
notice that too.
You can already like say it has the electric magnetic pulls because of tides and everything. And we all know that full moons are just like a magical like feeling in the air for whatever reason. And it just seems to be that way when we're at a location too, like it plays a huge factor. It really does.
It also does also sometimes feel like it's catching lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. I think that I'm with you on the moon phases because I worked in EMS for a long, long time, and scientists can say that full moons have no effect on people when they're full of shit. Because if you work in any business like that, in medical business, emergency medicine, as a police officer, it's people are always crazier, and I think it has to do with hormone cycles. Because even we think of women having their hormone cycles, but men have them too. We have our weeks where our hormones are crazy, and so I wonder how much that factors in. Like our own hormone cycles factor into when we're investigating and based on the phase of the moon and that stuff.
Right.
I think that kind of thing has a huge to do with the kind of activity you catch, because we always go in clear-minded, like happy to be there, excited, like all of these, positive, high energy emotions. We don't typically go into investigations where we're in a down mood or upset. Like we try to avoid that as much as we can,
Right.
because we think that, for one, if there is some type of negative energy out there, it's most likely going to prey off of that, or it's going to keep other spirits away from you because they want nothing to do with that negative emotion.
Well, I think you change your vibration too.
Yeah, exactly. That too is
Yeah.
like, I was talking about this kind of like last week, that like we all have like this spiritual like energy that's like emanating off of us no matter what we're doing, where we're at, and depending on like the mood that we're in or the emotion that we're feeling, that's the energy that's like out there.
Yeah.
So like the spirits can either sense this or they feel this, however they do their thing, and like they react to it just like anything else. Like think of it like two atoms. Like if they come by each other, they're gonna react to each other. They're gonna bounce away. They're gonna hit each other. They're gonna do something because they have to. It's the natural way of things.
That's nature, bitch.
That's nature, bitch.
So here recently, what's the most impressive thing y'all have caught, evidence wise?
I mean, honest to God, it's the footsteps for me have been probably the most impressive of the most recent ones.
Yeah, the footsteps at the poorhouse were pretty incredible. The footsteps at the haunted forest were pretty incredible too, because that was like out in the woods and you can hear it like through the leaves and onto the trail where we're standing. It's kind of crazy.
And in person, it was a lot louder.
Yeah, and it sounded like we were about to get attacked by a bear almost.
Yeah, I actually thought somebody was running up to us. Like we were in the middle.
We were in a park, so like there could have been someone out there.
Yeah,
it really
could. And it was terrifying. Like I actually got kind of scared. Like all of us like flipped really hard, and we're like, we all heard that. Like you heard that. Like that was footsteps.
Well, I think in that environment, your senses are heightened anyway because there's shit out there that can eat you.
Definitely,
That night we heard two owls.
Nature. Yeah, it was electric in the woods. They're getting it on.
Yeah, I was. I get asked all the time if I've ever been on a Bigfoot investigation, and I'm like, no, I'm not a camper or hiker. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like nature and like I grew up hunting and fishing and all that, but like I just don't
roughing it that long. And
you
know what I mean? Like you had to go pretty fucking deep to probably find him.
Yeah. Yeah. I get to go on one this summer up in Kentucky, but so we'll see how that goes. But I'm like, there's shit in the woods that can seriously eat me. Like there's real things in the woods. Like if I go into a fucking haunted prison or haunted house, that's not one of my concerns is that something's gonna, try to kill me and eat me. I mean, here where I live, we have fucking mountain lions and bobcats, and they a couple months ago they had separate videos of two different black bears in downtown fucking Nashville. So black bears are moving back in too from Appalachian Mountains.
We have all those things, but the DNR won't admit to cougars at all.
No, I'm pretty sure we caught a big cat in that haunted forest video too, but like we didn't know it in the time. But in like audio,
we caught something that sounded like a cat. I'm not 100% saying that it was a mountain lion, but it was definitely a cat of something.
It was like, ooh. Yeah, it's like that sounds like a cat expressing itself.
It could have. I also figured this out. I think it could have been a raccoon.
You think, dude? That is the deep fucking raccoon growl.
Dude, you ever heard of raccoon? They don't sound cute and cuddly.
No, you're right.
Or a bobcat, maybe. I don't know. It could have been something paranormal too. It could have been a demon. It could have been a skinwalker. We're here thinking it was an animal. Well, it was, but it was also trying to eat our soul.
That's fuck.
Yeah, Creepy Confidential. I've been on one investigation where they told me to bring a pew because they had at Octagon Hall in Franklin, Kentucky. They actually had a mountain lion make a den inside one of their barns.
Oh
So they told
no.
us that we needed a pew if we were going to be roaming the grounds. They also told us if we saw like a shimmering in the air, like don't walk through it because it's probably a portal. So they got all kind of crazy shit at Octagon Hall.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's the only investigation I ever was told to bring a sidearm. I'm like, well, that's crazy. But
You gotta stay strapped.
yeah, I usually am. So I mean, I've got one sitting right here beside me. But
straight up, like most locations, like sometimes some locations are not in the best of locations, if you understand what I mean.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
if they're in like some rough neighborhoods or something, it's like, ooh, yeah, I might actually want to keep a peace.
yeah.
Bear spray, bro. That's all you got to do. And then they can't see to shoot you.
Just duck and weave
Saying.
after your bear spray 'em.
Gun, so now you have bear mace and a gun. When
Yeah, it's not the ghost I'm worried about either. It's the
no, it's
scariest
people.
things
I think people
real
are
people.
the realest monsters.
People
of
are
all.
way scarier than ghosts. Like I
Yeah.
will stand by that because a
1,000,000%.
ghost kind of predictable. Plus, you can't even see it.
A human, completely unpredictable. That's why we're all the most
Yeah.
craziest things in the world.
That's one reason why I don't do private investigations anymore, because of just that, dealing with that. You're going into people's houses that you don't
That's
know.
where I'm at with it. It's so
You know,
weird for
and-
me. Like
If it
back
feels
when
too intrusive.
I watched like Ghost Hunters and shit, it didn't seem all that weird.
No.
Yeah.
But now that like I'm an adult and I own a house, I'm like, that is kind of weird. Like you're putting someone else's life like
It's my
out there.
sanctum.
Yeah. Yeah, and like with ghost hunters are in like they've had producers like vet these people and things, but us as individual teams going into somebody's house, it's harder to do that. Like you can vet them somewhat, on Facebook and social media and things, but if they're having like mental health issues,
Yeah.
that's hard to deal with, and that just became an issue, and we just got tired of dealing with it. Me and my gang, we used to do quite a few of the private ghost hunts, in people's houses, but you'll get these people who are, for one, conjuring shit, and they're playing with shit that they shouldn't be, and then they don't want to listen to you when you say, "Well, there's your problem." Stop doing what you're
This is
doing,
why
and you're
this is happening.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
shouldn't be sacrificing goats every Sunday at 3 in the afternoon. Like, what are
Yeah.
you doing? Like,
Well,
no
you ask
wonder
them-
you have a demon in your basement.
You'll ask them like, "When did this start?" Well, when I started playing with dowsing rods. Well, hey, that fucking clue. Like maybe you should be playing with
Maybe you
dowsing
should
rods.
put those down for now.
Yeah. And yeah, there are too many people out there conjuring shit they don't understand. There's too many paranormal teams doing that as well.
Right. Well, and it's like I feel like too, that's where you're gonna encounter like if there is dark spirits, you're probably gonna encounter them more likely in residences. Because think about where a lot of crimes happen, like a lot of domestic abuse, like
Yeah.
there's it's just dark shit, dude. Like that's where people like spend a lot of their like free time. Some people have fucked up free time. Like I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, it's dealing with people is weird. I dealt with mental health, working in the medical field, especially in emergency medicine for so long. And I'm just like, that's not, now that I do paranormal and I do the podcast for a living, that's not a good time to me. And so I don't want to deal with it, outside of people. And then we have these people who, wouldn't leave the Psychic Friends Network alone, and so, or we're not telling them what they want to hear, that there's a demon in their house. And so they don't want anything to do with us.
So they just turn off.
Yeah. Yeah. And you see a lot of that. Unfortunately, you see a lot of it in like paranormal groups as well. People, putting up photos and being paranoid and shit about. There's 8 dog men in this picture, and it's just a picture of bushes. You don't see anything, but these people are paranoid, and they may have like real, mental health issues. And
yeah, you do see quite a bit of that in the online like paranormal community groups on Facebook and stuff. Someone will post a picture, and it'll be obviously a really dusty room, and they're like, "Look at all these orbs. There's thousands of them."
It's like a reflection.
Yeah. I have seen a
want to
change.
tell you, but I also don't want to be that guy that's like,
because you'll be the one of 400 that attack.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you will get it. It's a lynch mob. That's why I stopped using Facebook and other social media stuff to like talk for real on certain platforms like that, because it's like you're not gonna make everybody happy, unfortunately. And like as much as you want to, like people are going to always try to poke holes in what you're doing and what your evidence is, and they're just always gonna do that. It's just a
I
thing.
think recently someone commented on one of our trailers. I think it was like, "Oh, you guys have like the craziest imagination," and I'm like, "We're not imagining anything, man. We just
Yeah.
film what happens in front of us, like, and then we make it theatrical."
Maybe we don't like slow it down enough or like captivate it enough. Like I don't know, but like it's that type of thing where it's like if we're getting that criticism, all right, then we like highlight that more. We make it bigger, more extravagant. So then that way it's like, all right, if you're gonna hate on it, like here, let's present it a little better. Cool.
Yeah.
Like I'll take that criticism all day long.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
don't
think-
mind it though. Like, you know what I always say is,
Kill
if
with
sticks
kindness.
and stones don't break my bones.
Yeah, and you're only offended by what you allow people to offend you with. So, it's not what you're called, it's what you answer to. But I think it's also healthy to put evidence out there and have people scrutinize it, because even if you know what you caught, it's hard to say. I never want to throw anybody's stories or experiences out the window, but at the same time, we all need to go into this, with a skeptical mind, so that we're not thinking everything's paranormal. And when I do respond to some of those people online, but more from an educational standpoint, like I try to say, okay, this is the scientific explanation, whether they want to hear it or not, try to educate them. But then you have those people out there that just, they're self-proclaimed psychic, and they see 5 demons and 3 dogmen in that picture, and it's a picture of a dog in a field, so you're gonna have issues with people no matter what. And also, like for me, living in the Bible Belt in the South, I encounter people all the time that's like, what you do is demonic and everything's demons. And, so you're gonna have those people too. And you have those people that the only comments they ever put in any of those groups on any post is, Jesus is coming back and you're all going to hell. Well, you're not adding any constructive anything to this conversation either. And you're the same one that just bitched about everybody being mean. So I have seen a change though in the past couple of years, to where it was 500 comments of everybody agreeing that there's a ghost in the picture or a dogman or whatever, to now the majority of the comments are like, no, that's a lens flare, or people are educating themselves and getting more educated, I think.
Exactly.
No, yeah, people definitely are paying more attention. And the thing is too, is like paranormal is getting more and more like popular.
Yeah.
Every year it seems like there's new creators popping up, or a new show that comes up that gets people more interested into it. And I mean, it's awesome, because for someone who's been in paranormal basically my entire life and had so many experiences, I could probably write 10 books, but that, like, it's cool to see finally people are just like, yeah, I believe in this stuff. Because like,
It's
how
way
can you
more
not? We're
accepted.
finding out almost yearly now that stuff that we were told wasn't real is real. Like
Yeah.
aliens.
Real.
We were told forever that aliens were not real. Just this last year. Oh yeah, they're real.
Disclosure.
We've been spending billions of dollars on them for the last 20
Yeah, there's
plus
money
years.
trails that you can follow thanks to David Grush. That's real. Like that's actually real.
And
Yeah,
then
and
all of a sudden there's these things called AI generated bots that can just do whatever the fuck you tell it to
Yeah.
at like the most top level. Like all of a sudden that comes out. Where do you think that kind of technology came from?
Right.
Aliens. Where else would it come from? I don't know if that's true or not, but that's my that's what I'm thinking right now.
I like how you immediately went to like, I'm not an expert. I don't know if that's truth.
Yeah. That's one thing about going on other shows, is I get asked about everything in the paranormal, and I'm like, I'm just gonna tell you, my forte is ghost. Okay, that's what I do. And you want to talk about ghosts, we can do that all night. I'll give you my opinion on Bigfoot, cryptids, or aliens, but I'm not. We can't take some in-depth dive into aliens. I can tell you what I've seen, like you're talking about, from David Grush and like George Knapp, and I pay attention to Jeremy Corbell and them.
Really interesting.
But I don't go talk to an alien person.
Like,
Ask them about
legitimately, like,
aliens.
get a hold of him. Like, I'm sure
Yeah,
he can talk to you at this point. He talks to everybody.
right. But I've been interested in aliens since I was a kid. I had like the glowing, the black light alien
Movie.
posters everywhere and shit like that. But
Well, it's just so
now,
fascinating.
yeah, now I'm just like, I don't know. I guess I'm just as I got older, I'm just resigned that they exist, and so now I'm
Right.
not as interested as I
The
was.
allure is dying down.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just like, okay, they exist. Like our government finally admitted it, what we all knew, you know,
Yeah, like,
and
now what else are they lying about? Now I gotta figure that out.
right,
At least
right.
that's how I feel about it.
Well, I think it's just smoke and mirrors. I think look over here at aliens while we do something shady over here.
This whole time we have been living on Mars. Earth is just
Oh, no,
Construct of
Jesus.
the
yeah, Earth is
Matrix.
just a construct. We're actually on Mars.
Like, could you imagine,
Yeah.
though? Like, mind fuck of the fucking millennia where it's just like, little did you know, we've already planet swapped millions of years ago. What? You
It's
guys
like
are
planets.
actually the third rendition of
Planets are just
like,
stars, and the stars are just lights that died millions of years ago. What if we're already dead?
oh, Jesus, God. You can't
I
hit me
didn't.
with those.
I did not bring my tinfoil hat for this conversation, gentlemen. We can get into the esoteric shit, but that's where we tend to lose people.
Oh, easily.
That's
Yeah,
why I don't
I'm
do
sorry.
conspiracies and shit on my show.
It's
Because
so eh,
I mean, I get people publicists will send me emails and shit like,
yeah.
"This person would be a great guest on your show." Well, obviously you ain't listened to my show because I've never had anybody talking about conspiracy theories. None of these tinfoil hat. Well, they've been on so and so show. Well, so and so, that's what they do.
That's
Let
yeah,
them
they
go
do
on
that.
their show. They've been on Rush Limbaugh. Well, okay, he talks conspiracy
Okay.
theories and shit, when he was alive. But
I'm uneducated as fuck on that shit. All I
Oh,
know
me
is I
too.
think it's cool.
yeah, I mean,
That's about, I think what I think and I know what I
I
know.
see a documentary and I'm like,
See, yeah, that's where my information gets retained, is if I watch a documentary and then it's just like in there.
yeah, I go down this rabbit hole on YouTube once a year or something
Or
on
yeah,
aliens.
or that happens.
that's mostly like about Egypt and like other countries though, where it's like the Mayan cultures and things like that. Like when we were doing our research for the podcast episodes, we found a bunch of like little rabbit holes of stuff like that where it's like, fuck, there's so much more than we really, really thought there was there.
Yeah,
It's like
Mhm.
if you really dive into like cultural things, like
yeah,
like if you go back to other people's cultures and civilizations, like that paranormal activity that's happening that you think isn't like what it is, like might actually like draw back like hundreds of thousands of years before what we think is actually happening. It's like, this is interesting.
Well, I think spiritually dealing with the spiritual world and paranormal, I think we've taken a step back. We tend to think because we have technology like we're on now, where we can talk on the internet, we have computers and all this technology, self-driving cars and shit, that we were so more far advanced than like the native cultures. No, we're so much more disconnected from
Oh yeah.
our where we live, our environment, nature, all those things. And I think they had a lot of it figured out. And if you go back and look at like Native American folklore and their mythology, a lot of their stuff on paranormal to them is just normal, and it still is. I mean, I've had the guys from Fallen Out Radio on, and they were raised on the reservation, and it's just part of their, that's part of their beliefs and what they're taught is that they have good medicine and bad medicine, and their medicine is magic, and they've seen crazy shit. They have some of the most fascinating stories. I need to have them back on because just some of the crazy shit they've seen and experienced in their lives,
Yeah, where
growing
it's
up on
like
the
that. It's
reservation.
almost that unicorn where it's like, you can't be fucking real right now. Like, no.
But I think that we think, oh, those poor little people didn't have technology, and I think they were way more advanced in a lot of different ways than we are. And but like with Cherokee culture for one,
Mhm.
Bigfoot was just another creature they lived beside, and it was kind of we don't mess with you, you don't mess with us, type shit. And so yeah, I just find all that fascinating and diving into that culture is really interesting. But yeah, all of our technology, we're just smart in a different way. You got to
Right.
think,
Well, I mean, as people, we're innovators. That's all we are,
yeah,
really. Like we're the generalized working force of everything, it seems like, and we always are innovating better.
Yeah, and we have the same brains those people had 1,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the same curiosity, the same, want to
Yeah.
build things and create things and things like that. So, yeah, I think we can definitely learn from those people. And I think a lot of newer investigators need to go back and look at people like Hans Holzer
Right.
and people who started investigating. Stay away from the fucking Warrens. Don't even get me started on the Warrens. But serious investigators like Hans Holzer and some of those that started paranormal investigating in the field, and go back and take a look at their books and their cases. And Hans Holzer's not perfect either in his methods, but he used the methods of his time.
Right.
And is like, trying to get EVPs and video and things like that. Or look up like the Ensfield poltergeist. There's an amazing documentary on Hulu right now. I think it's Hulu. Um, one of the channels anyway, about the Ensfield, and they use the original audio, and the reenactors are just there to give you a visual, but they use the real audio that this doctor, this researcher recorded, and it's pretty interesting. But well, we'll see you later. Have a good night. But
creeps.
Hope.
But yeah, so what do y'all have? I know y'all have the tattoo shop coming up.
Would you like to see the trailer?
Yeah, we can play the trailer.
I'll say that'll be a good way that we can segue a little more.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna pop this out real quick and I'll play the trailer.
Here at Honest to Goodness in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Our very backyard.
I think one of the interesting facts about this building too is it sat abandoned for like 30 years.
What was that?
The hair on my, it's all standing up right now. Look at that. Actual goosebumps. Oh my God, is my shirt moving right now?
Yeah, it's like pulled out.
My name is Mildred.
Are you fucking kidding me? What?
I came from a dark place.
Whoa,
Whoa, that just got really weird.
what the fuck? That's weird.
Awesome.
Heck yeah. That's just like a tiny taste of the goodness too.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't even use the bestest clips.
I really didn't.
Yeah, I watched that trailer the other day, and the you can actually, it's crazy. You can see your shirt being moved.
Yeah, and like when
being
it's in
pulled out.
4K too, when it's actually
Yeah.
properly out on Friday, like you can see like straight up his shirt is literally like
Yeah,
turned
and what's
more
even crazier is I'm reaching my arms out, so like if my shirt was to move, it would go
wouldn't
with my
forward.
arms.
Yeah.
And it goes
Right.
the opposite way of my arms.
Yeah, and when
Yeah,
he
there's no
twists,
reason.
if you look at
Yeah.
the wall, you can see where his shirt is like cutting out like the triangle look. So it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
And I could feel it like actually like could feel like almost a hand like grab it and just like tug it just a little bit. It was insane. One of the most insane like actual like paranormal feelings I've had in my life. I was just standing there. It was decently warm in there. Like I had a t-shirt on, jeans. I was comfortable. And we were by that window and it was pretty cold out, but I wasn't chilly. And then they were like, Lindsay and Jenna were like, it's really cold right here. And I'm like, I'm fine. Literally in the video, you can hear me, I'm fine right now. Like that's
I'm over in the
weird.
hallway,
You're cold.
just like
And
laying
then
down.
all of a sudden, the right side of my body just got ice cold. And that's when I filmed the goosebumps. And it was just my right side.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I just feel my shirt start moving.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
I
that's pretty
overheard
awesome.
I'm getting touched right now.
You're like, my shirt's moving? Does it look like that? And I like sat up and kind of like grabbed the camera and was just like, what's happening?
Well, it's usually shit like that you don't capture on camera. Like it
Right.
happens, but you just have a story.
It's the unicorn. That's
Yeah.
what we always say. Like, it's the proverbial unicorn that if you always are rolling at some point when you think you're gonna catch something, you might, and then if you do, it's like fuck yeah.
But
Yeah.
also, if Trevor wasn't sitting out in that hallway, like we wouldn't have had that angle.
Right.
And it
You wouldn't be able to
validated
see
it so much.
Yeah, because I put them side by side, like at the same time, and it's wild because you can see my shirt actually moving, and then you can see like from the other side of me, you see the shirt like have movement in it, and then from his angle, you see it getting pulled back.
Yeah, it looks like it's stretching, and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's
It's
pretty
wild.
awesome. Have
And
y'all
then
ever been? You ever had anything like that happen before?
I
Like
have
touched or-
Kind of. So like even at the Asher Walton house, we had a bottle get knocked off of the counter right next door to where we were standing, about to walk into that room. So it was like, what? Like, why is this physical manifestation happening right here next to us? Like, I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, yeah. I've been touched quite a few times. The last time I got touched, I got poked in the ass cheek.
see, yep. When I was at Eloise Asylum, I literally had my ass like grabbed. It was insane. Like I thought someone actually grabbed my ass. I was like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah,
Thought it was me, and I was like, not today.
yeah. And I was like, dude, you just grab my ass. It was like, it's happened.
Wouldn't be that weird.
It's happened. So like I wouldn't have doubted it, but he was like not
Nope.
even near me.
I was like way across the hallway, like doing my own thing, trying to like get touched, I guess. Because everybody else says they got touched, but I still have yet
Yeah,
to
he was
really
literally
experience.
like there's a spirit there that just like likes to touch people's butts.
Well, I had my back to the hallway that was dark, and I was facing inside this room at Thomas' house, and everybody else was sitting down in the room, and somebody was doing an SS method, and I was the only one sitting up. And through the SS method, this is another SS method one. The lady said, "Sit down." Well, I'm the only one standing up, and right after she said that, I was like, "What the fuck?" And it felt like a finger poked me in the butt cheek, like a little kid was like, "Hey, sit down," you know. So I went and sat down.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had what felt like a finger run up the back of my hair before, and I thought it was a bug at first, but it wasn't.
The whole reason why I got into paranormal investigating and paranormal in general was because I got my hair pulled. And that was back when I had really long hair, and it was like when my friends were just fucking around. Oh
Yeah.
shit! I still have to get that fucking video from Chris, because he found the video camera it was on when I got my hair pulled and everything, and he showed me it recently, like when I saw him probably like a month ago, and I forgot to message him. But like that solidified for me that something else is happening, because it's like I was up against a brick wall. Like the house that we were in had activity happening pretty much on like the regular like weekly basis, and like that night we were all like making Ouija boards and like like making fun of it, and then we had a door open on its own like in the basement to the outside, and then we shut it and we're like, that was weird. And then my friends decided it was going to be funny to tape me to a chair with like duct tape and shit, and then put me in the back of the closet, put the camera on my lap, and then I was sitting there, the camera turned off, so I yelled at them, came back in, grabbed the camera, looked at it, plugged it in, and they were like, all right, cool, like we're recording again. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting there laughing, and then it's like I felt something grab a fistful of my hair and just yanked my head back, and I was like, whoa, what? Get me out of here. Like, no.
Yeah,
No, that's a big nope for me. Like, no.
yeah. So the new video at the tattoo shop.
Mhm.
What's the history of that building? I know that hasn't always been a tattoo
Oh,
shop.
let me, because Trevor's gonna skip over some of the stuff because he wants to get to one specific thing. I know.
Because why it's
But
happening.
the building was built in 1883. I want to say. I have to look at the
Old as
picture.
fuck.
It's super old. It's one of the oldest buildings in downtown Grand Rapids. It has been many things over the years. It was a blues club, a blues and jazz club.
Yep.
It was a hotel. It was a bar. And then it sat abandoned for 30 years. And just recently, I think 2018 or so, 2019, Honest to Goodness moved in, and a couple other businesses moved in the lower floors. Because Honest to Goodness is on the top floor. I think it's the third floor.
Yep.
And it's the whole third floor. So they got the whole top there.
Yeah.
So we only had access to the one floor. But
that floor is a brothel.
yeah, that third floor
back in the day,
was
it
used
was
as like a
brothel.
brothel and a illegal like gambling club during the Prohibition and shit.
Yeah.
So there's like this cone type thing at the top front
It's
of
like
the building.
it's like a turret on the
Dome.
side of
It's
the
like a
building.
dome. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
castle dome.
Yeah.
Well, there's a room up in that little attic area which they didn't know until they hung this chandelier inside of the tattoo shop.
And they went up there.
And they went up there because they had to attach, the bolts from the other side. It's a big chandelier. Like, you'd want this thing to be up there.
It's
for
pretty
good.
grand. It's in the owner's tattoo shop, like her.
Yeah, in the owner's stall.
Yeah, that's cool. Did y'all talk to the people that run the businesses on the lower floors?
No, just Lindsay
is like
kinda-
really good friends with the owner, so it's like
Yeah.
she's like one top dogs there too, and she's always there. She's one of the piercers there. Good friend.
I was just wondering. I mean, if they're having activity on the third floor.
Oh yeah, every day.
The other floors or
the other artist a little bit, and she was like, "Yeah, shit's fucked up. I don't believe in this stuff, and it's sketchy here. I don't like being here at night. It's like interesting." And she was like, "All right, deuces, I'm out. I'm not gonna be here."
And one thing that we actually forgot to put in the video is on top of in the trailer, there's a CCTV camera security footage thing.
Oh yeah.
There's actually like a full body apparition in that video of someone kneeling down, and then
It gets
just
kind of cut
disappears.
off in that trailer.
Yeah, because I'm trying to fit it in a short time frame.
Yeah.
Because the way the shorts and like the trailer shit works, it like condenses it really weird, like because the formatting.
And that video comes out Friday, right?
Yep, and that'll have
8
like,
PM.
you'll see that clear in that video too, where it's like
It gets slowed down too.
You can see a lady literally like.
Wow.
And the reason why is fucking super interesting because when they went up in that attic and they found all those prohibition bottles of bed and like children's toys and shit, like they also took some of that stuff and when they were doing their build out of the tattoo rooms and shit,
yeah.
Well, they decided it would be a good idea to like put that stuff in the wall too, and then put crystals in the wall.
We touch on that in the video, but what we didn't touch on is on top of that full body apparition, a hooded figure has been seen walking the hallways, like as people are like tattooing people, or a guest, a patron's getting tattooed, they'll see this hooded figure like walk through this hallway, and we forgot to even mention that
too. Will say that they know there's a male spirit that stays there and. They say his name is Joseph and he protects the women there. And everybody that walks in there, it's just getting tattooed. That is like a medium or psychic in some way. Will be like
Joseph.
Yeah, we'll say his name without being prompted about anything. And it's like, that's pretty interesting, actually.
Right. Yeah, like they don't advertise this place as haunted.
No,
like
definitely not.
Right.
This will probably be the first video ever coming out of this place ever. Like for any paranormal activity. But the claim
they've mentioned it in a news article that they did on the place,
but you
they moved in, but that's it. Like other than that, the history is like pretty cut and dry. Like
cool,
there's a couple things, and then that's it. So like
we also had activity after too. Like there's been a couple of things after now that we've left too, where our recorder basically got kidnapped out of our box and put onto.
Yeah, this is wild. We have to kind of explain this in depth what happened here because you can actually see what happened in the video. So I put the recorder in my pocket and I was carrying it in my pocket all night just in case we decided to do an EVP session at any time because we were catching stuff.
Just bam, jump on that shit.
And
right.
At the end of the night, there's a scene where Trevor films out into like the lobby area of the tattoo shop.
And if
and
you
it's
look
a clear view of this counter, there's nothing on it. And then
Yeah.
shortly after that, we wrap up to the end of the video.
Because of a loud ass fucking
That's
bang.
actually how the night ended. Like we have this loud bang, and then we were just like, okay, let's just get out of here. It's 4 in the morning.
Right.
We're getting told to get the fuck out by a bang.
We pack everything away. Trevor sees me put the recorder in the box, shut it, lock it, and we go, I'm going to open it back up.
Yep.
And we're going to walk the building one more time and just pick up anything.
Right.
And we both
it back up.
He did his lap and then I did my lap.
We did laps in opposite directions, basically, checking the whole place.
Yep.
I think we picked up a couple of cords. Like we did grab a couple of things, put them into the box.
Yep.
Closed it. Pack. Probably did one more walkthrough even.
Didn't
I know
want
Lindsay did a walkthrough after because she, works there and so like she's got to make sure she closes up the building.
Yeah, and it's a
proper
tattoo
way.
and piercing shop. I don't want to like contaminate anybody's stalls. I don't want to do any of that bacterial shit. I don't want to make anybody like lose a license because somebody has like something happen or shit like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we're super respectful because of the place that it is.
Yeah.
Right. We leave. It's the day or two later, one of the artists found a recorder
and freaked out too.
and freaked out because
Because it was on the front fucking case where we had just
he
walked
thought
out.
someone was like wiretapping him or something. But then Lindsay's like, no, that's from the guys from What Goes Bump Tonight. They did a paranormal investigation here, blah, blah, blah. Tells us that she has the recorder, and we're like, how in the fuck?
Like we
That was packed away.
Yeah.
It was the one
did
that
that
had
get
all
there?
of the recordings on it too.
And
For
on
me.
top of that, we ask her, well, where was it? It should have been on the ground over by,
Or
where
in
we
the back
packed up
room where
everything.
there's like a couch and their lockers.
Yeah,
and
or in the
shit.
lounge area. It was on the front counter.
We didn't even touch the front counter because they had it nice and clean for the night.
Yeah.
It's like no fingertips, dog. Like no more spraying some Glade and fucking squirt, 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 squirt. Like
Yeah,
that's
it was
not
just
me
sitting
telling
on there
you.
like where it's basically a display for all of these piercings, and then where you check
right.
out. It was sitting on that.
I
And we have a
don't
clear video of it not being there.
I don't know how.
No
That's
idea.
crazy. Yeah,
And
that's
it,
one of the
like,
things that
If we would have left it there, we all would have seen it before we left. I'm like, oh, we gotta grab that real quick.
right. Yeah, apportation is one of those things with hauntings that I find very interesting. I've only had one encounter with it, and it's kind of similar to what y'all were talking about. Excuse me. But once again, I was at Thomas' house.
Yeah.
And you know the little ghost meters that have like the orange shit on top of them. It's called a ghost meter.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
To me, they're fucking annoying. It's an EMF detector, and if you don't turn the sound off, they're annoying, high pitched. But one of the people had this lady was with us that we know. She had one of them, carrying it around with her, and we go down into the cafeteria, the dining room area to take a break. And I was standing there talking to her, and I saw her physically set it on the table. And we get done with our break, 10 to 15 minutes, and then she can't find it. And I sit there and watched her put it on the table while I was talking to her. She goes up to her room upstairs and was in her room on the dresser. And all of us were like, we just saw, and it wasn't just me that saw her with it.
Right.
There's a couple other people that were like, we saw, she's been carrying around all night.
That's crazy.
And she hadn't gone to her room before we went to the dining room because she came straight on the stairs with us. And yeah, this ghost meter, went.
Trevor has a story from Post Town where some wire or cord.
Yeah, it was fucking nuts. So we did 2 nights at Post Town Elementary, which is supposedly the most haunted elementary school in America. And I'm not kidding. I had some of the craziest experiences I've ever had with some equipment that I didn't get to use before. And I was like, this is pretty incredible. Like I high-fived like a child, pretty sure, like with a tripwire where it's like, I don't know how the fuck that works, but it did. And then after that, like pretty sure that at the end of the night, we communicated with one of the janitors and there's like a crawl space in the basement where if you go back to the corner, there's claims to be of a janitor who used to drink himself silly in the corner back there, and that was like his work area and his like little workbench was back there and stuff. So there was a Miller Lite sitting on the chair, and then there was a REM pod on it, and we were all sitting around it, and the Spirit Talker app said Miller, and then we were like, what the fuck? And then the REM pod just went beep, and we were like, what the fuck? Like that's pretty crazy. So then we were like, there's something happening down here for sure. But then when we were going to leave, my phone had died, and then I had the light going still for everybody. Well, the light itself, it's one of those rotary style lights where you have to like take like your fingernail and then turn it down. Well, something I should say turned it down all the way to 0 while we were sitting there, and I thought it died. Nope, it still had like 4 bars of battery, and it just got turned to 0. And I was like, "What the fuck? How does that happen?"
Yeah.
So that got manipulated with. And then when we were going to leave, I picked up my gimbal. My phone has like an adapter cable that goes from it to the Rode microphone that we were using. I didn't unplug it or anything while we were walking away. Even though my phone died, I just was carrying it. The cord's usually wrapped up around it and shit. We get back into the room. I sat everything down because we're spending the night in Post Town too. And lay it all out, make it all nice, unplug the cords from it, go charge everything, put the cords right next to the gimbal so I know where they are for the next day. Well, I wake up, it's gone. The fuck? Like, what's happening here? So I'm like,
Yeah.
grab a lunch. I go downstairs to the last place we were because, retrace your steps. It's sitting at the top of these like 3 steps that go back towards the crawl space. And I was the second person going down the stairs, and there was 4 more people behind me.
Yeah, so somebody would have seen it.
Because you have to have
Yeah.
your flashlight, to look down before you fucking die.
Yeah.
So I was like, how the fuck does that happen, dude? I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy, Austin. Prospect place, we have money, we put in the locked donation box up here on another table.
Somewhere else. Like, how the fuck does that happen?
Yeah. I wonder if I'm sure it happens more than we actually notice.
Probably.
Because we have so much equipment and shit,
Yeah, I think it's all
Yeah.
you're so
Definitely
focused on certain things that it's just like
Yeah.
that just moved over there and you didn't even see it, dog.
But
I
unless
feel like
they
I've had that type of stuff happen to me before. I just didn't even realize it because I know for sure there's been times where I'm looking for something for like what seems like days. Like
Yeah.
you might look for it for an hour one day. You're like, fuck, I can't find it. Where is it? And then you look for it another time, and it's in a spot you already looked, and you're like,
Yeah.
what?
Like,
I know the last time I looked for this, I went in here just to look again, just because, even though I knew it wasn't in there, and now it is.
How do we
Yeah.
focus this shit?
How does that happen? Well, that's some hocus pocus fucking bullshit right there.
Well, like with you, Trevor, like with the cord, if it would have been in somewhere normal, not on the damn stairs,
Right.
then you probably would have not thought it was
Yeah, if it was on the
anything
floor, it's like
weird.
whatever, it's fine. Like
Yeah.
no big deal. Like,
But that's what I'm saying. Like the only time we notice these things is when it's some place that it shouldn't be, like something weird. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I wonder how often that does happen. Because I know there's been plenty of investigations from like I could have swore I had my recorder with me.
Right.
Because we load down our pockets of batteries and recorders and flashlights and shit. And it'll be back wherever our gear is. I'm like, I know I put that damn thing in my pocket. But at the same time, can't prove it, so it's harder. But when it's in someplace weird like that, you're like, I know I had that. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I know we kind of had that kind of
The Olympian book
sensation
photos where that happened.
when we were at Asher Walton because it's the first time we ever had like a gear room, so we could like put everything out. But that
Yeah.
made it so much more difficult because we're like, well, where did I put it last? Did I put it on this table? Did I put it on that table?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, I actually left it upstairs.
Loosen the hour light and it fell off when they were filming. Yeah. I've never had anything like that happen.
That video's wild.
At Old Stone Jail, not Old Stone Jail, Scott County Jail out in Huntsville, Tennessee. We actually have on video a laser grid rotating. You know how you can turn the tip to make different patterns? We put it in a jail cell, and you can see us. We've been gone for 5 minutes, and it doesn't fall over. It's on the tripod, and it's shoved into a sleeve. You know what I'm talking about, to hold the button on?
Yeah.
So there's no way the thing turned on its own.
Yeah, it's in
And-
like silicone or like something like that's gonna like
Yeah.
hold pressure on it.
Yeah, to hold the button down to keep it on. And the whole damn, it turns. Like something turned the lens to change the pattern on the wall. And it's like obvious as shit, and it's on video. And then at Brushy Mountain, we put a static camera out. And unfortunately, the fucking light wasn't strong. I bought better IR light since then, but unfortunately, the IR light wasn't strong enough. And something comes up and taps on the camera. Never had that happen, but it sounds like a tapping on the plastic of the camera. Like, is this thing recording? Like, is this thing on type deal?
Check.
And-
check.
Yeah. But this is also in the background on the audio. You can hear all kind of footsteps. You can hear, and like I told y'all, like we didn't open or close any cell doors because the 2 lower floors, they're all closed, and the 2 upper floors, they're open for you. There's no reason to close a cell door.
No.
Well, you hear a slamming of a cell door. You hear all these footsteps, and it sounds like something walks up to the camera. Somebody walks up to the camera and taps on it.
Yeah.
We
We
had that happen
captured
those
a jail cell door moving on one of our first like investigations as what goes, actually the first investigation as what goes bump the night. And it was one of the wildest experiences because we're in this giant jail that's open air, like it's open to the elements.
Yeah.
We're with a bunch of different people, but they're 2 floors below us in the basement. So they're basically underground. We're way up. And then
these doors are like cast iron rusted.
Yeah, these doors are heavy. They haven't moved in, over 100 years.
Yeah.
They're rusted. They're cast iron. They're so heavy. You can't move them.
To move.
You can't move them. And we literally heard one of them not move a lot, but enough to where it creaked the iron and steel on steel. And we captured it. And we thought someone was below us. And then we find out they're 2 floors below us.
Not only that, there was like 3 sets of
none of them heard it.
Wow.
And it was so loud.
Yeah.
Like it echoed through the building. Like it was so loud. And
me and Riley were like sitting in a side room where like the nurses' quarters were, and we like looked at each other because we were sitting in chairs, and we were like, this is the first time I have this happen. What do we do? I'm scared. Like I legitimately the whole night was like, okay, we can do that. I'm not looking in my peripherals right now. Like, what's
Yeah.
Hear that? Did you hear that? What was that?
That was like the first paranormal thing we ever had happen. Like,
yeah, for real, like the big one for real. And then we started doing more like localized stuff, and that's when we had some like real crazy stuff happen too, where it's like, okay, something is like it is happening. Like we is getting stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I keep saying Brushy Mountain. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? I've been talking about it the whole time now. I just want to make sure Brushy Mountain State Prison in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure y'all know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Shout out Ghost Bros. They went there.
I've mentioned it quite a few times. I heard an interesting story about Destination Fear when I think they did their very first episode at Brushy Mountain of Destination Fear. You ever watch that show?
Yeah.
So,
I didn't watch it.
I did too.
I didn't even know about them till recently. Honestly, they've had a show for one time. I had no idea who they were until they came to YouTube.
Yeah, they had like 4 seasons.
I knew who Dakota was, but I didn't know he had his own show.
Yeah. So the first, I think it was their very first episode they filmed at Brushy Mountain. Their very first one that aired was Brushy Mountain. And the tour guide, when she gave us the quick tour before we went and investigated, she was telling us up on the 3rd floor, there's a bunch of doors like you were talking about. It just reminded me, you talking about the doors rusted shut. There's a bunch of doors there that are rusted shut and they don't open. And there's one of these at the end of like the 3rd floor. And Destination Fear, they heard it open and slam shut while they were sitting right next to it. But this door doesn't open this door doesn't open. It's rusted shut.
Right.
And it scared them so bad. They would not even go back and get their own camera. They actually had the resident investigator, who's like their chaperone for the prison, go and get their camera.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you know it's like a legit experience, though, because they were that scared. Like that's jarring.
Yeah. But I'm going back to Brushy Mountain in April, so
I love that.
I'm looking forward to that place is
awesome.
amazing. Yeah.
I hope we can get some good locations in this year. I know for sure we can do it for sure too early on, but we just haven't. I think we've narrowed down one location. The second one we're not sure on yet.
Yeah, it's money wise too, where we got to pull triggers at good times, where we're not going to be super fucking financially crippled for the whole.
Well, and then there's the whole, will it fucking storm? Is it going to snow here soon and be absolutely crazy?
Yeah.
So far, we could have done lots of traveling, I guess. We've freaking lucked out on some crazy weather this year, but just not good timing.
Yeah. I got a lot of stuff coming up. Like I was telling you before we started recording, so many investigations already. The 27th of this month, we're going to a place I don't think's ever been investigated before. It's called the Commodore Hotel, and it's in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee. And this time of year, the little town that it's in called Linden, it has a bunch of kayakers and shit that come in the summer, so the hotel stays full in the summer. But this time of year, they don't really book anybody because the river, nobody's out on the river. And so I think we'll have it all to ourselves, but it's never been investigated before.
Oh, I love that.
Building was built back in the 1800s. I don't know that. I don't know any of the history. So
I can tell you
how that goes.
That we are going to do a lot more like free stuff. The more free stuff we can do, the better.
The more content we can get out there where we actually are like experiencing this stuff, because a lot of the bread and butter that we were doing was cemeteries, and we were catching a lot of really interesting stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing, like, I don't care to investigate outside.
I mean, I
don't wanna be
prefer
hot, I don't wanna be cold.
to insert. I like
Some
locate.
cemeteries have some really wild stories hidden behind
Yeah.
them
That's
that
the
are
thing,
way darker than you think they are. Like,
There's two in particular, like the Pentwater one that Jenna found. I really want to go to this year for sure.
yeah, that one's actually got a kind of bright, bright meaning behind it, but it's very strange.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're, like, the Mount Olivet Cemetery in Nashville, has lots of local legend and folklore, and there's a lady in white that's seen up there with a lantern.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I
And,
want to investigate more. Is like those urban
I
legend
want to see the
ghosts.
lanterns like floating through the cemeteries. Like I got to see it. Yeah, and Olympia Bookstore. Like that's another one that I know we're probably gonna do, and
Yep.
probably try to do like the Fowler. You know,
And there's like a paranormal oddity museum near
Yep.
us,
birds.
like an hour away, that we're probably going to try to get into.
Maybe. Yeah, there's quite a few that were like a lot more local than we knew that people have put us on that were like, hey, go here. Like we have hookups, like we'll get you. We got you, dog. Just say you know who
Yeah.
you
Yeah, we have a crazy investigation coming up, and I can't tell you where it's at because it's covert.
right.
Yeah, I got a friend who works there, and we're going to investigate her office, but it's a notorious place. It's owned by the state of Tennessee, so that's all I'll say about it. And they're not
Oh,
actually doing an investigation.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
but we'll be as far as I know, we'll be the only ones who's ever investigated.
Ever.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm excited about that. But I love getting in places that nobody's ever been. Brushy Mountain being as big as it is, and as many people that know about it from TV and stuff, they don't have a lot of people investigate. Not as many as you think, because it's $1,700 for a night.
I was gonna say it's so
So,
expensive. I looked
yeah.
into it too because I was like, it'd be fucking awesome to. No, it wouldn't. Not at that price.
Yeah. Well, there's gonna be 12 of us going, so it's like 145 piece. So it's
Yeah,
not
I
too
think
bad.
That's when it makes it a lot better. But how many square feet is it again?
huge,
Brushy
bro.
Mountain is
Massive.
massive.
You wouldn't be able
200,000
to
square
explore
feet
it
or
in a
something?
day.
Yeah, it's like 260,000 or something. There's like
Yeah,
you
so
have
it's like 12 of you really isn't that bad, and
Yeah.
you could probably all pick a corner and then walk for a good 7 hours and probably not run into each other.
Dude, some of the buildings
Yeah.
might take you a day to explore. Like,
Yeah.
pretty wild.
We felt rushed, because that was my first time a couple months ago when I went, and we kind of felt rushed to try to get to each one of the, because you have 4 tiers of
Right.
of prison cells, and then you have A block and B block. They're 4 tiers apiece. Then you have D block, which is 2 stories, and that was segregation. Then you have the hole. And then you have the gym, which is a separate building,
Yep.
and there's this huge yard out there, that's probably 2 football fields wide.
That
And it's
people have gotten
massive.
stabbed on. 100%
Yeah.
have happened.
Yeah, gotten beheaded, and they used to have the whipping post out there too. So back when it was a mining prison. So it started off in 1896. The family that owned it found this huge coal vein, and it's the biggest in the world. And this is in the Appalachian Mountains. And they started mining it. Well, they paired with the state of Tennessee and said, well, ship in inmates that are in prison, and we'll use them for labor,
Yep.
and we'll pay you, for their labor or whatever. So when they got out of hand, they had a whipping post that they would strap them to, that it just looks like a T, and they would put the whip in water, drag it across sand, and then whip them with it. However many lashes, yeah. And then the state come in and built the actual prison in the early 1920 something, I believe. I'm trying to remember. So many places and so many fucking dates and history,
Right.
And then it operated as a prison from 1896 until 2007. They had inmates in there. Yeah. So over 100 years. Yeah, and they're like James Earl Ray was one of the most famous people there. They never had a death row there. People died there, but they didn't execute people. They shipped people to Nashville to execute them. But where the Green Mile was filmed in Nashville at the Castle Prison, that's where they had death row. So they had death row there. But But yeah, Brooksy Mountain, man, what a crazy history. I mean, she just told us a minute portion of the history. And
Right.
there's beheadings, and they decided it'd be a good idea to put a theater room in back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And they took it out after 2 years because so many people got their throat slashed in the dark while they're watching a movie. People just come up behind them and kill them, you know,
Yeah,
because it's in the dark, and then
yeah. You
nobody's
don't
seeing.
you can't see who did it.
Yeah, so shit like that, and then you had the whipping post where people would get 1,000 lashes with a whip and shit.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy. But that place is so massive that I mean, you could go there 10 times and not really feel like you ever covered.
Yeah, where it's like, did I spend enough time on certain aspects of the jail here, or I mean, the prison here? Like, that's where we've sometimes struggled too. Like Eloise Asylum was a big one where it's like there were so many people and there were so many floors that when we had the free range, like you would run into somebody everywhere you wanted to investigate, basically. And then when stuff was starting to happen, there was like 15 other people with us. So it's like,
yeah,
it's a
I
little-
had that. The only place I ever had that happen was at the Ripley's, the original Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in St. Augustine.
Mhm.
Got to investigate in there, and yeah, there were so many people. I still caught some shit on photos.
Yeah, we
actually, but
definitely had some crazy fucking experiences at
Yeah.
Eloise too.
I did. I'm pretty sure I seen a freaking like giant person shadow figure. I don't know how else to explain it. It was once I walked up to where I seen this like head like poke out of a door, I realized it had to be like 7 feet tall. And I was like, what the fuck?
is that? Yeah.
Because it was so far down the hallway that I thought someone actually might be down there and walked like across.
But the perspective when you walk up to it's
But
totally
when I
different.
got to where I thought it was, the ceiling was like so tall and the door was so tall. I was like, where that head and shoulders would have been up here. And I was like,
And then he had me walk over there, and I'm 6'1", and he's like, "That's still way higher than you can touch," because I couldn't even touch the fucking, like, like I could barely scrape the top of the door frame, and I was like, "That's interesting." I was like, and it was almost touching that. Like, that's fucking tall as shit, dude.
That seems to be a thing in like prisons and asylums. With them always having like the bigger shadow figures.
I don't
like
or
saw like
hospitals. I don't know.
you're like the size of Riley. She thought she was talking to Riley, and then she turned around, and it was like of like a mass like his size, but it was just like not there when she turned around. And again, and it was like, the fuck.
Yeah. Well, there's just there's a bunch of like Penhurst Asylum. They have a big shadow figure, and it makes me wonder. It's one of those tropes again. Like you get the hooded figure, like you were talking about earlier. They seen the tattoo shop. That thing's seen a hooded figure type entity is seen all around the world.
Yeah, we've even
you have the lady in white. You have shadow.
yeah, I believe we caught a photo of one.
And possibly a lady in a fucking dress too.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we caught a photo of lady in white. So like those are two of the like
the tropes.
The tropes.
Yeah. I just wondered. I wonder how we
documented.
got the tropes. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, like when
why
did those
they
become
keep
the, like,
repeating?
the standard, like
it's because that's what people are. That's what they're seeing.
Yeah.
Like,
But I'm
I
just
guess it
wondering
makes
why
sense.
people are seeing those same things in so many different places. You know what I'm saying? Like the
It
same.
could be like a ripple
stereotype,
effect
I guess.
where it's like when we are in the time that we are, we're seeing those reflections of that time frame.
Yeah.
And like the farther that we like extend, lifespans, and then like generations from now, they're gonna see like World War II like era style people, and then it's just gonna keep going up until we're the ghosts that they're seeing, basically, like the echoes, if it's residual haunting stuff. At least that's how I'd probably interpret it at this point, where it's I think everybody probably imprints themselves at some point somewhere with all of this electricity that our bodies generate and our spiritual pressures and shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't doubt that, like, any type of, because everybody goes through their own events, traumatic, happy, like euphoric, all that. Everybody experiences at least some type of those emotions, and you can't tell me that doesn't rub off on things.
Well, and I've been asked lots of times, why we don't have as many reportings of modern ghosts.
Yeah.
Right? Well, I think that has a difference. Like you're talking about environment, like stone tape theory and that type of stuff. I think it's a different environment. The houses that we build nowadays and structures that we live in weren't the same
No.
as the early 1900s, 1800s. I mean, they had stone foundations, they had wells and water running under them, and it was a completely different thing. So I think that has a lot to do with it, especially when it comes to residual hauntings.
Right.
Now, there are plenty of reports out there of intelligent hauntings with being more current,
Oh yeah, yeah,
deceased
yeah,
people.
for sure.
But with
But then that
residual,
gets
I think residual is always seen as this old stuff because it was easier because of the materials they used to imprint on the environment and
right.
on that actual structure.
Yeah,
To where now we're using concrete and bricks and wood, milled wood and
Yeah, like
metal.
we're like cutting the corners there in the quality of
Yeah,
stone.
yeah,
so like my parents' house is a good example of this. It's an older home, but it's built different than like the modern home because it's built in the 60s. So like
yeah,
they still use some of the the bricklaying type procedures and things like that was the same. Top of that, it's a waterfront property. And
yeah.
we moved in after elderly couple had passed away. So like we were the next people to move into the house
Yes.
pretty within like 6 months of them dying too. Like it wasn't no
Crazy.
long that the family
Yeah.
just flipped it and we moved in. I encountered their spirits multiple times. Like there was a time where I thought I heard two older people like arguing in the house when I was the only one there, and like my dogs are reacting to it and everything. So like sometimes too, like if we're living in a house that has these types of builds, this is kind of what I'm getting to. Like most definitely it isn't always going to be a super historic thing that's like
Yeah,
left over.
yeah,
It's all and a lot of times ghost hunters like we want to avoid that out of respect for people who might still be related to them that are living. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
might have even known this person. You don't want to put any like bad light on someone on accident, I guess.
yeah. Well, I think there. I mean, yeah, there's ethics in what we do, and
It's a
but I
gray
think,
line though. It's a gray line of
very
yeah,
ethics.
yeah. But I think also if you're called in to investigate somewhere like that, or you live there and you investigate it,
It's different because we have like
excuse me,
we have the permission. Like graveyards, that's where
yeah,
it's a little thing.
Yeah.
Like we're never gonna focus on someone that died like 3 years ago, unless like we have permission to, like we did on the one that we did do this year, where we ran into someone who said they had
His
a
family
family member
member.
buried there,
Yeah.
and they were there to talk to them. So like that's different because they knew him and was family, and they're like okaying it, and they wanted to do it.
Mhm.
So it's like
right,
you
right.
got to walk the line of respect and
An ass
don't know.
hattery, as the dweebs said.
Yeah. yeah.
Yeah, don't be an asshat.
Respectfully try not to be an asshat the best you can.
Yeah, yeah, and like there's one guy that comes to mind, and I don't know his name. He's on YouTube, but like he uses I don't know if it's spirit box or what, but as soon as these tragedies happen, he's on top of it to get clickbait for his channel.
Yes.
And he has millions of viewers.
Yeah.
And like when that submarine with those people on it,
Oh,
whenever you think
yeah.
about the rich people going on the
Challenger
submarine,
or whatever it was.
Challenger Deep or whatever, and it imploded and killed them. Oh, like 2 days after they said that people died, he had a video up. And like that's disrespectful.
Yeah.
And why he has so many thousands of views, millions of views, I don't know.
Right. Well, and
But
then it's like people are also gonna make that like also counter argument where it's like, well, if you talk to anybody that's dead, is that also disrespectful then? It's like, I mean, where do we draw the line? Like there has to be some
I'm honestly finding that most of the spirits that we do encounter are spirits whose story is not told.
right.
exactly.
Most of the time, and it's like for us recently, it seems like children just are the
Or
most
like
common
unfinished
spirits out
business,
there,
too.
which is it freaking burns inside to know that like that's what's happening is children are just getting left behind in the spiritual world for whatever reason.
Yeah, or it's just too
Yeah.
confusing or whatever. Because like like the question is like, what is it? Like when we pass on, like what's the transcendence here? Like, are we moving on to like 3 different stages, or one other stage where we're all just here, but like we could just get like completely disconnected from everything else, where it's like, well, now I'm alone. Like, what do I do? Some people handle it better, some people don't. I don't know. Like, I have no fucking idea.
Never
I think
will.
I've heard lots of different stories over the years about people trying to figure out why a spirit is still around. And I think there's many different reasons. I think there's many different reasons as there are reasons why we do what we do. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But yeah,
Mhm.
it all comes down to we want to know what's the afterlife, but we all have had our different experiences, right? And our different motivations, for us to get individual motivations to go in the paranormal. So I think when with spirits, I don't I think some of them are stuck in a way, but I think they're
Right.
stuck because of their own shit, right? Like purgatory for themselves, like their own living loop because
Mhm.
maybe they don't want to admit to themselves they're dead. I think other people choose to stay because they're afraid of what's on the other side.
Right.
I think some
If
people
they do
don't
move
even
on.
know they died.
Right. Right. And so I think with children, I think children, it may be fear a lot, but also it may be one of those things like you're saying, they're afraid they'll be forgotten and what happened to them, a horrible thing that happened to them at, this asylum or whatever, they want the story out there, you know. And even
Mhm.
if it's 100 years later or 50 years later or whatever, I think that's part of their motivation to stick around until somebody does come along that can tell their story. And I think
Right.
that's the difference between being respectful and being disrespectful in what we do. There are always going to be disrespectful people out there. There's
Yeah.
always going to be those fucking bros like, douchebaggins who are going to go in disrespectful, who are going to fucking always poke, and
Mhm.
do disrespectful and say disrespectful things. Also like the other fucktard asshats on YouTube that go to like the suicide forest and in Japan and things and film somebody who just killed themselves,
Right. Yeah, like, what is that,
Oh,
dude?
What one
Like,
of the Logan Paul or one of the Paul brothers did that, and
yeah,
and
that was
people go up
Logan.
over it. Even like, but the thing is, like, the funniest part about all of that is even the bad publicity that it got was publicity.
yeah,
Like, that's the
yeah,
worst part about it, is people knew who he was, even
yeah,
though it was a completely disrespectful,
yeah.
did not reflect on any of the paranormal community's beliefs whatsoever. It was his own belief that that was
Yeah.
acceptable, and it's like, like,
Well, and
dude, that's not sanctity. Like, no.
one of the things I've seen here lately in the paranormal world, just because I'm fucking immersed in it all the time, is you have people who are calling out other people in the paranormal world for being
Phonies.
well, no, not even phonies, not even debunking, but not being nice people and
Oh, yeah,
doing
just
things to
jerks.
inappropriate things to women and things like that. And you have these people calling them out, and then you have these other people who are like, why are you calling out people in the paranormal? And they want to sweep all the shit under the rug. Well, no, if they're a fucking asshole and they're a piece of shit, then they need to go. We don't need pedophiles and people like that, and people
No.
that are going to be inappropriate towards women and things like that anywhere near our field because it doesn't help anything,
No.
and
It
so
discredits everything we're doing because then it just looks like we're all assholes and that we're just making shit
yeah,
up, that we're all satanic douche nuts.
yeah, but if you watch half of these YouTubers that have millions of subscribers and millions of views, they're so disrespectful when they go into locations. It's ridiculous. And most of them, and then you have, don't even get me started on cultural appropriation with skinwalkers and things like that. I'm sure y'all saw my rant
Oh
about that
my
a while back.
gosh. I
Um,
have
mm,
I have my own thoughts on that because you have
I
to
think we're pretty
understand
respectful about
you
it.
have to understand the legend before you start
Mhm.
opening your mouth saying everything's a skinwalker
yeah,
because skinwalker is only relative to the Navajo like tribe. That's it.
and
To
a
that
couple other
region of the
tribes around
world.
there. Yeah, yeah,
That's it.
It's
yeah,
Great Lake Territories.
yeah. And it's just, and that's my thing is like trying to educate people.
Mhm.
That's just kind of where I've come to, I guess, at my age now. It's
Right,
like,
yeah, well, it's like I've
yeah,
lost hope in a lot of, like, certain, like, certain facets of, like, just lively days where it's like, wow, some people's ignorance just bleeds out on the internet, and I can't believe it. Like,
yeah,
sometimes it's so wild to me, but other times it's like, I love it when you see, like, the threads of people that are just, like, educating themselves basically by, like, "All right, I need to look into this because this is a really good topic that, like, I had no idea even existed." So it's like, I see hope at the
yeah,
same time that I see, like, all the, like, negative shit, but it's like, I don't know which way it's heading because, like, you can see the snowballs rolling both ways, and it's like, "Shit, dude."
yeah. what got me down the whole thing with the Skinwalker thing was it's actually some investigators in England that I actually like. And I think they don't fake anything. I think they do a decent job and their videos are entertaining. But for clickbait, they put Skinwalker on one of their videos. There's a Skinwalker here. No, there's not. You know, and then people want to take that word and apply it to every shapeshifter, and I'm like, no, that's not.
It was just like the demon,
Yeah.
like like the demon
Yeah.
thing, where there was like a very like good stretch of videos from all the big creators that said, "There's a demon here. There's a demon here. There's a demon
Yeah.
here. There's a demon here," and that's all we saw for like a good 2-3 months. It's like
Oh, it's still
Yeah.
happening.
it does still happen, but it's
Yeah.
not as a crazy rate as
Oh,
it
it is.
was.
You obviously haven't been on YouTube.
No, I guess I'm living under a rock again. But like realistically to me, where it's just like there's no way that it's happening every single place. I just can't.
Yeah.
Be.
Yeah,
You can tell. All you got to do is like figure out what keyword is hot. And
Yeah, that's the thing too, is like that's the algorithm. It's not that these like really good creators that actually have caught very, very compelling evidence that need to be shown are
it's
being
just
shown.
marketing at this point.
Yeah,
It's literally
all
it's a marketing trigger word. That's all it is. It's everyone knows it. People have their own thoughts of the word, and it for
as
some
long as you
reason,
can
it, like
cut a video together
hits a
correctly,
chord
you
in
can use
people,
it.
and they're like demon click.
yeah.
It just is. I'm probably clicking on it. I'll be honest. Probably clicking on it. Am I going to title
I'm
my
curious.
videos with demons? Probably not,
No.
because I don't really.
We have what's called tegrity.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. I don't like
You
putting
don't
a
even
biblical
believe in it
term.
100%, dude.
Yeah, I don't like using a biblical term to describe something paranormal.
I
It
don't
just
think
feels
paranormal
wrong.
and biblical
Feels
really
so
need to
wrong
collide
to me.
that hard. Yeah, I don't think so. I think at
Well,
some point they might, but like realistically, it is probably like the most phantasmal percentage that it does happen. Really,
I mean, it depends on what religion you're talking about. How
that's
you
a
see paranormal.
yeah,
It
that's a
all
really
goes.
Yeah.
It goes into the definition of the word you're talking about. So, like,
Yeah.
how are you portraying the word that you're trying to perceive? That's all it is. And then sometimes it's a marketing strategy because that's a hot word in people's like
Yeah.
attention span right now, where they're wanting to watch something about demons or skinwalkers or shapeshifters or whatever it might be. So like those types of videos are going to keep coming out and people are going to keep saying it and titling it that because that's what's getting pushed.
yeah.
Right.
You can see it happen everywhere.
Well, I'll continue to do my grassroots campaign to get people to listen to my show and
That's what I'm
do
saying.
my content just like y'all do,
Yeah,
and
we stay
gain
humble.
real followers
Mhm.
one by one. I would rather do that than sell out with clickbait and all that shit, and have it'd be great to have 1 million subscribers on YouTube. And I'd love to have 1 million downloads of my podcast. And I'm not bitching about my numbers on my podcast. I'm not. But I'd rather continue instead of selling out to get those numbers. I'd rather have a couple thousand people that listen to my podcast on a regular basis, that are diehard fans of it. And like we were talking about
like,
earlier,
they're gonna
you're gonna
carry
have
the
those diehard fans on YouTube.
Mhm.
For us, it's like I know for me anyways, like I've never so much cared about how many followers the like podcast has or anything, because when we first started this, I honestly didn't care if
I think
we
anybody
ever got 1,000 followers in
Yeah.
the next 5 days. I definitely would have thought it's cool, and I'd be like, "Wow, what? Okay, that's really cool to have
Am
that
I
kind of support."
famous?
But like now, I got to deliver. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a lot of
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah, I'm
But,
glad
like,
that it wasn't so much pressure to coming up the way we did. Honest to God, actually.
because at this point, like we have so much content that's available for you. If you don't like us in our first appearance and you decide to give us a second chance, you're probably gonna stick around, and you're probably
Right.
gonna hit subscribe. So if we
The
can at
quality
least
has
get you,
always gotten better.
yeah. So if we can get you to join us now and then see the progression as we continue to improve as humans and as entertainers and everything, like finding
And the
ourselves
video
in this space has been a journey. We went
Yeah.
from guys who sat across from each other at a table and bullshitted for 2 to 3 hours and just recorded it to, live interviewing, being on other people's podcasts. That was never even like That's
I
like
didn't think it was
crazy to me to think that this
We used
idea we had 5 years ago has became this. Like we never
Yeah,
imagined.
we would struggle to get people to like stay entertained. It felt like where it's like, are we doing it correctly? Like, like, but we've always been true to who we are. Like we really
Right.
haven't changed very much at all, honestly.
Right.
Other than the fact that we got a little more creative with some of the stuff that we did, or like some of the topics that we did that we found were really good. So it's like we found those little like I don't want to call them pitfalls because they're not, but like little gold mines.
Yeah.
Where it's like those like produced a couple really golden nuggets that came out of that mine for sure. But then like others might have not done as well as other topics. But realistically, like the consistency of us doing it, at least like what felt like 1 to 2 every 2 weeks for the first start of it was the key to it. Where it's like and this is like also goes up for every new content creator. Like stay with it. Like even if
Yeah.
your numbers aren't going crazy and doing what you think they are, like just stay with it. Like consistency is key. Because like the more that you stay consistent, the more people will come back, the more people will understand, like, hey, this is the day, this is the time, and I need to be here if I want to see it.
Right.
And it helps with that.
Yeah.
a ton.
And
But
also notice if you are gonna go dark, at least like on social media or whatever, because we all have those times where they're like we just want to escape from the social media world and not deal with it.
right.
Dial it back.
Honestly, just go dark, but explain before
Why?
you do it.
Yeah, like
Explain why.
taking a step back because of mental health reasons. Like you don't have to give out your reasons, but
Like
like
if it's gonna be a day or
mental
two, whatever. But if you're
well.
gonna disappear for like a good while, like we kind of we did it. The reason I say this is because we kind of went dark. He had a
Yeah.
kid. We weren't really sure how a lot was moving in life, and we couldn't
Moving
find the
parts.
time to like get around and get
I
together
slept
and record.
like 4 hours a night, and Jenna slept 2 hours every 2 hours. And it was
And
like,
then,
oh god.
Yeah.
and then she
Yeah.
got to like 6 months old, and we were like, okay, let's jump back
It's
on it. Like,
better,
we
yeah, like
literally
have more
didn't
time.
even do an episode for like 6 months, I think. And then, like we were paying attention, and people were still listening, and like it was a test really for us too. I wish we would have done it differently, but it was a test to see like, oh, like
What is our limitations here?
yeah, like
Yeah.
people still want to listen to us, and we haven't released an episode. Like we should come back. Like we should actually do this again and take it a little more
A
serious.
little more seriously, yeah. Because at first it was just a hobby, like it still is just a hobby. Like at the end of the day, this is still just like a fun thing for us to do that we just really
Right.
enjoy doing. And it's
Right.
it's a passion of mine now at this point. For sure. I know Riley feels the exact same way. But like, it's like we're just bullshitting with each other. Like we do a little bit of research, or like we research a topic right before we go live, and then we just give our like honest to God opinions on it.
Right.
It's raw as fuck. Like it's just who we are, it's and like I don't think we're dumb by any means, but like sometimes
No.
some shit we say is like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I honestly I love going back into our archive of almost 200 episodes now, and just like some of the
You can see
stories
the
we read
We
and
used to-
like the like scenarios we come up with in our head on the
It's
spot
crazy.
after reading the story are so fucking funny. It's like how are we coming up with this stuff on the spot? Like
I should have
Yeah.
been a movie producer because I could come up with stuff
especially like one of my favorite series,
Yeah.
and we need to like get back to doing them, was the SCP files, because we would just
So
go
much
off on these tangents about these monsters, like if they were real, what would happen? Man,
Yeah, 'cause
there's some
seriously like
funny stuff
most
in there.
fun reads that I've ever found. Because like we heard about it on a YouTube video because we were in a YouTube hole before one of our episodes way early on. And it was like talking about something that we had never heard of before, like some type of like monster ghoul or something. And it was fucking cool. And then next thing you know, we were like, let's just Google this. Like, I remember this kind of. And then it just popped up like a 15,000 page, like fucking there's a list of like stories basically where they're
Yeah.
extremely detailed. And it's like, oh my God, we just stumbled into another gold mine.
I think the key to all of this that you said, Trevor, was authenticity.
Yeah, you
Just
have to
being
take
yourself.
it over it.
Yeah. And that's what people want. People want you to be yourself and to relate to you, and your personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like I don't want to wear a mask, and then when I
Right.
get home or something, I have to take it off. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure one of our live streams, people have seen me go straight into dad mode and have to like look at our 4-year-old and be like, shush right
Right.
now.
Yeah, the best compliment that I get, and I've gotten it a couple times when I meet people in person through doing like events, live events, is they said you are the same as you are on the podcast, or we see you online, or and they're kind of, I don't, it kind of blows their mind a little bit. It's weird.
Right. Well,
Um,
that's a funny thing that you say that too, because those dweebs, I met them in real life at one of the Ghostorama events, and there's actually going to be more Ghostorama events coming up here in
May, I think.
Indiana and Lower Michigan, I think. I don't know the exact dates or the locations. I had to get a hold of Danny still and get everything all nailed down because we want to be a part of that because I've been a
We
part
might
of
have
that
that.
since the inaugural stuff basically. But after I met them, like we became pretty good friends and we like have kept touch. And it's like one of the episodes they were also in the live stream, just like they're now. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm kind of an introvert. And Riley was like, shut the fuck up. No, you're not. And then they were like, yeah, I sentiment that like you are not an introvert, dude.
right, right.
It's like I love that stuff. It's just hilarious.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about doing the paranormal stuff too is the networking and becoming friends with
Mm.
people. And I've just met so many awesome people.
It's
Two of
incredible.
y'all, we've never met in person, but I feel like I know y'all.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
incredible how
Yeah.
close you can become with people that you would
Yeah.
never have been able to connect with. Like, and especially because, like, to me, I share a lot of the same morals and values, and like to a lot of different investigators because they hold that like high regard for themselves too. It seems like because like you kind of have to in this field,
Yeah.
where it's like you have to stay like basically like humbled and like truthful. And I mean, like there are some people that maybe are pushing boundaries here and there, but like maybe it's not intentional. And like you never know. But I always give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Like I will
Yeah.
always think that people are here to do the right
Some
thing.
people act different when the intention's on them too. So like
Yeah, that's another thing. Pressure does make people cook or crack, dude.
Yeah.
it does. And they don't necessarily even know that they're like that's what they're doing. You
Mhm.
know, it's just like playing sports, if you're having a
Subconscious
good
always-
game, everybody notices you're having a good game.
You're on fire.
It's not a secret, like the player goes out there and scores a hat trick in hockey, everyone's be like, dude, he's on fire today.
Right.
Can't stop him. So like it's the
Must
same
have-
thing. If you're on fire with like making videos and content and stuff, like
Mhm.
you're doing good because you see like all the eyes are
Mhm.
on you. So like what you want to keep doing it. And you
Yeah.
just
Thank
you're like
you.
almost hyper focus on that
Yeah.
and just forget about how you're acting.
Oh,
Almost.
100%.
Well, and for me, like I want my show to become bigger, and I want to hit 1 million downloads
Mm-hmm.
because I want to take everybody else with me. Do you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Yeah.
Like
That's
not even for my own benefit.
That's
But
what we said too. Where it's like,
Everybody.
oh my God, like we feel like given the platform and like our personalities and everything, like it's not that we want to be famous, it's the fact that it's like I think we have good potential to do it because it's like I think we're both really interesting. And not only that, like this stuff needs to be seen. Like and we're
Yeah.
probably some of the not like and I know this sounds like super egotistical too, and it's like this is not how I talk usually. But like the showcase that we just put on, it's like I haven't seen other people doing that very often, and it's like I only recently started seeing like other people that review videos, and it's like it's a beautiful idea. Like I love that you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
support the community, that you can put these people in front of other people that they need to be seen in front of, because not everybody is going to see our videos. Like that's just the truth. But
Right.
like if we can get somebody that's never seen it before to tell somebody else and then people are
It's the
enjoying
oldest
it,
form of
making-
marketing.
yeah, and
Wow.
we're making an impact in their lives in any way, shape, or form. If I can brighten somebody's day by cracking a joke or like just being generally like ridiculous, like how we always are, or
Yeah.
like Riley like keeping me grounded in a situation where it's like, dude, chill out, bro. Like
Yeah.
you're being ridiculous.
Well, and it's like I got to thinking one day, and this is gonna sound, fucking cathartic and egotistical too, but I got to thinking like how many people regularly look to my show on their way home from work to like decompress. And they're like looking forward to
Yeah.
like because you just don't understand the impact that you're having on people. And you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, not even
we
having a
felt
huge
that-
audience.
We felt that personally
know.
recently. We on our 100th episode of the Bumpies, we gosh, I forget his name, and I'm so sorry that I did, but I don't think he really follows us too much anymore for whatever reason.
At least you're honest.
Yeah, you gotta stay honest. But
But
we made a box.
we sent him like a box and everything, and like he made a video of him opening it, and it was like, wow, like
Yeah.
we've never met this guy, never really talked to him too much.
I'm so humbled about it, and he's so excited, and it's like and it's not only that, like people that have messaged us or like going out in public, and then somebody saying like, "Oh, I actually have listened to you before," and then like they show you that they've already subscribed, and you're like, "I don't even know who you are." Like that's incredible, dude. Like, have I really made it to this point? Like that's incredible.
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't happen very often.
Another wild thing, I think our podcast is that like we've been around for 5 years. We're at like almost 3 years straight of having a play
every single day.
Yeah.
It averages out. I think when we did average it out every like week, basically, it's like 300, not 300. It's like 100 plays basically every week at least. And then it's between, like the 5 years, it's at 16.7 or something right now listens. And it was so much lower in the first 3 years. And it's like once we figured out like the rhythm, what we like doing more, like what the formula for us is, where it works coherently with us best, what we're more comfortable with doing, basically, where it's like the research, like I really do want to get back to researching topics and bringing up things,
reading stories.
Yeah, and reading
writing
stories.
stories.
It also takes a lot of time to find those, to do the research, to do it correctly, especially when we're already working full-time jobs. Like I have a kid, Riley's girlfriend, that
the live stream idea, like with the interviews, was kind of like a grasp for air for us because we were kind of getting burnt out on all of the topics that we were doing. And then
so it was like, let's take a break, let's see if anybody wants to talk, and then it turned into the best thing ever.
Yeah, I love it. Like I love going on with other people's shows as well, and I don't have to prep for that. I just go on and be myself and talk about my shit.
Exactly.
But it's nice to have a guest on and a topic and let them talk. And I've actually had people message me and be like, "Look, you need to talk more in your episodes," because I would go through 3 or 4 where I don't talk a whole lot, just let my guests talk. And they're like, "We want to hear from you too. That's why we listen to your fucking show."
Like, butter. You got the radio butter for them.
But I don't think that way. I don't think like, oh, they come to listen to me. I think, okay, well, they come to listen to the subject of the guest. And I just don't think of those terms because I don't give myself fucking delusions of grandeur.
At the very beginning, me and him both were like, okay, we can't have ourselves on camera because that's taboo. We have to go back and get the those sounds out. We have to make it all sound super pretty and fuck with every little like inch of it.
Our first episode, I think we spent 4 hours editing it, literally taking out little tiny segments.
I think
it sound like we didn't pause too far in between our words, and like,
because words are hard.
Crazy.
After we adopted, words are hard. And that like sometimes English can be the most like it is the most dysfunctional, disjuncted like fucking speech pattern in the world, because there's so many like we're and we'rs. Like, although it's just like little shit like that where it's like it makes some people stumble, and like when you're reading it, like it makes me stumble sometimes too. And I think I read well, but like I don't know, like it's your brain comprehending things, especially or words that you don't know.
I think I read well, but I hate the way I sound when I'm reading for some reason. I don't mind listening to myself too much, but I hate listening to myself read. It's like the most cringe thing I can think of.
I do kind of feel that way too. I've been told I have a radio voice, but I was like, I don't fucking like the sound of my voice, like not at all.
I just don't care. From DJing for so many years and singing karaoke and DJing karaoke, I've just heard my voice so much that it's like whatever. And so now I started doing strange chapters and narrating the stories and talking about words are hard. Like I'm so grateful for all the authors that are letting me use their stories because they don't have to, right? But some of them, the way they write, I'm just like, yeah, this was never meant to be read out loud.
That's where I struggle with reading because they didn't write it the way I speak.
Sometimes we have to tweak it just a little bit.
I don't tweak
Just
any
a
of
little.
it.
I have
Like,
to like. It doesn't have my
If
like
there's a missing
slang to
word,
it,
for sure.
or like my like verbiage of how I would
yeah.
line up those words or something. I don't know.
Well, I
It's
think I'm
just
pretty
like this
good.
weird thing.
I think I'm pretty good with the narration. At least when I listen back to it, I think it sounds good. But there's some words they'll put like these 3 or 4 words in a row. They're like ginormous words. And I should start putting the bloopers out of me cussing myself because I can't fucking speak, and then I sound like I have a speech impediment because I can't say certain fucking word
Yeah,
at
like
one
the
point in time.
ferocious, voluptuous apricot. Like, fuck.
Yeah, it's like However, seriously,
You're a
and it's
like,
just
why do I slur now? Which one? I have a
it's
stroke
10
in
o'clock in the
between that?
morning. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. I've had too much coffee,
Oh, that's fucking great.
but no, I feel like y'all will always hold a special place with me in the podcast world, and even as friends, because I feel like we've grown
Thank
up
you.
together in
Oh,
podcasting.
I
Yeah,
feel that
like-
way too.
Like big brother over there, just like popping off, and we're like, let's fucking just watch this beautiful rise to the top. Because we're not far behind, honestly.
But that's what I want is like for everybody, like all of my friends, and
Oh yeah,
all the people I've made friends with. Like, no, we're all in this together. Like,
it's a pair
I'm not doing this
community.
by myself.
We say it all the time. Like, it's
And-
definitely a pair community.
Yeah.
Like, granted, like I know everybody doesn't see eye to eye, but we're all doing the same thing. Like,
Yeah,
that's
and-
where it's at the end of the day.
The para-unity shit that these people spout, the reason I hate it is because the ones that are yelling at the loudest are the ones that want the most attention. And it always becomes about them. So for me, they've tainted the whole para-unity thing.
But they won't
Because-
shout out channels or like do the work.
No.
That, like the channels
Yeah.
like what we do, where it's like everybody gets a day in the sun.
Yeah.
Because that's just
yeah.
how it needs to be, man. Like that's what interviewing is about. Where it's like I want to hear about you.
Yeah, yeah. And I try to when I talk to anybody on my show, I try to make sure that they are well advertised. If it's an author or whatever, I'm putting links up. Like when I put the audio episode of this chat out tomorrow, all of y'all's links will be there for YouTube, for Facebook. I will advertise it on all my social media and shit. And so hopefully it drives traffic to y'all. Like
we
that's
try
part
to
of the
do that
point too.
Yeah, I try to everybody that like we've been on past like previous like even now where it's like if I can like grab a clip really quick and share it on my reel or something, it's like yeah, definitely 100%. Like that's the easiest thing I can do. Like you kidding me?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel bad though because I won't see people's stuff because it isn't shown to me,
That's the other thing. Is like sometimes it's like I'm only picking certain people.
or I
but
see
it's
it like
I
days
see-
later.
I'm like
Yeah.
on my poop breaks, bruh. Like looking through this stuff, trying to get, like at work, trying to get through as many as I can. Like, all right, that's going up, that's going up, that's going up. All right, that's all I got, dog. Gotta go back.
Yeah. You'd be amazed that there's some people that it's just like pulling teeth to get them to share the stuff. And I'm like, we're talking about your fucking book. You don't want to sell more
like, are you
copies of your
kidding me?
book? Like, I can't guarantee you're gonna sell any copies from being on my show. I can't guarantee
Like,
anything.
I have an audience.
Yeah, but maybe if you share that you're on a podcast and people go listen to my shit and
And your fans
yeah,
interested in that.
right. But yeah, I don't know. It's a funny. The podcast world's funny, and then you throw the paranormal win on top of it, and it's
Yeah. Well, and
even
it's
fucking
like,
weirder.
it's like way better at advertising than others. Like Riley is a master at advertising compared to what I can do. And it's like it shows because like a lot of the traffic that he can drive to our channel, like it's great hard work, but it's also hard work. And
Yeah.
some people just like relatively don't do anything, and then it just like pops off, and it's like I don't know how that happens, dude. Like
If
somehow
I
you
wouldn't have
know
figured
it's-
out how to make templates for myself,
we'd
and
be
just
stuck
was
in the
like,
Stone Ages.
I'm just gonna keep everything the same and consistent. That way, when people see it, they know what it is.
Right.
And it's just easier for me to mass produce it every week, every
Right.
month.
Yeah. That's probably the majority of what I do. And I'm fortunate enough to do the podcast for a living. And that's, I mean, it's getting better, every month with more and more people listening, but I'm very fortunate to do that. But I spend the majority of my time advertising. Majority of my time is spent social media, interacting with people, messaging people
work.
back, and putting in the work. And, and the other half is the recording and editing and things like that,
Yeah, doing like just cutting out research time too for certain things.
Well, and if I have an author on my show, I've read their book.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Their latest book. So yeah, on top of that, yeah, it's 24/7. And I definitely needed this when it came along because I had PTSD and other issues from working emergency medicine for so many years.
Right.
And so I was dealing with those things. And so this allowed me to focus on something completely different and all that. And so
It's an escape.
I would say
Yeah.
it's helped me out a lot too with my mental health, like being
Yeah.
able to
I
just
found
be
who
so
I
like
was because of this.
open and be like, you know what? I don't really care if people don't like what I have to say. They don't have to
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother to me because I'm just speaking my opinion here.
You know, it's
And-
funny. I've only gotten a very small handful of like negative comments.
Same.
So
I
over
can
the
count. I can
almost
count them
4
on
years.
one hand.
Yeah,
Honestly.
we've barely gotten any at all.
Yeah. The funniest one
And
that I
there's
thought was
literally
just awesome.
probably 40 episodes of Trevor be like, "Come on, come hate on us, hate
Yeah,
on us,
like, literally
Like-
asking for it.
give
There
us
was
a bad
a-
review. We're tired of the 5 stars. We want a 1-star review. Give it to us."
Right.
Nothing.
One of the funniest ones I ever got was on YouTube, and the guy said, "This is YouTube. Get video for fuck's sake," because I was just putting the podcast up, just so people listen.
That's actually a funny comment. Though.
That-
You're like,
yeah,
yeah, you're
that's
right,
like,
dude.
oh
Yeah,
my
you're
God.
right. I should do it.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
But the thing is, I think like the next week, the guy subscribed to my channel, so
Right? Where he's like, I'm still interested. Like this is fine.
Yeah.
I got it right.
yeah. So
We have a really funny review, and I kind of want to see if I can find it.
Oh, is it the
Something
one that
about he called us waffles, like these
Waffle brain.
open-headed
waffle
waffle
brain?
brain morons don't know nothing about nothing.
Yeah, or smooth brain or something where it's like we're just babbling.
Oh my god, it's so funny.
But yeah, like it's just like that stuff where it's like that episode in particular was about the Fukushima Daiichi reactor.
Everything we said was so factual.
Super
Yeah.
accurate. I did so much research for gas. Can't even talk. I'm so mad still about it.
I'm so smart.
I know exactly. So like the whole time, I'm spitting the facts about it, how it was like the worst nuclear, meltdown basically since
Right.
Chernobyl, but nobody died. Like that was the big difference. The
Yeah.
Fukushima fucking reactor got blown up because of a tsunami. So what does a radioactive tsunami do to a very, very dense population of farmers on the outlands of Japan, where this killed tons of people?
Right.
A lot of spiritual pressure and activity. Where they had so many just like accounts of things happening for so long, and they still do to this day. Like I would love to go and just spend like a week in Japan and go towards some of the exclusion areas where you can go back to, but nobody lives because of how fucked up everything is still. And just,
Yeah.
see if like you can have like any of those experiences. Because like realistically, I think that the radiation and everything has to charge those particles or those ions where it's like it would make the most sense to me that because they're having like accounts of people leaving wet trails where they're standing.
Yeah.
See people, and it's like that doesn't make fucking sense. Like,
Was
how
that-
did that happen?
I think it was the newest iteration of Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix that had a whole episode about that.
Yeah, and it's super fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they're still having fucking problems. Like Godzilla's gonna be real. I'm just telling you that now. They're
Marvel.
pumping radioactive water that is in the Fukushima Daiichi reactor plant back into the ocean after they filter it.
Right.
And it's like, nah, dude, you're gonna create Godzilla. Like, and then we're gonna
That's
have
literally how
fucking
Godzilla
super
works.
monsters, and it's gonna be fucking sick. 'Cause
Did you find it, Riley?
It looks like Apple deleted the bad review.
No, I know exactly what he said though. I'm pretty sure he was
He
like,
called us waffles. I
yeah,
know
he
that.
definitely called us like waffle brains, but he basically said, like, why do you guys do your research like to say that like Chernobyl wasn't as bad, like blah blah blah. And it's like, no, dude, go back and do your research. Like you
Yeah.
can't just come at me sideways and not even have the right facts yourself. And it's
But
like
you know-
I looked in so many sources to make sure I was right.
You know what's funny to me in that situation? He's bucking up against you against facts
Mhm.
instead of the esoteric ghost shit that we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
Dude, that's
why would
the
if
funniest
you're gonna
part.
buck up against anybody?
Yeah,
Why wouldn't you be like, well, why do you believe in ghosts? I mean, why
No,
would
it's
you
stuff
go against
that, like,
facts?
Yeah, like it's stuff that you can literally hard look up. No, look it up, man. Like, yes, there was
Yeah.
loss of life in Chernobyl, but realistically, the amount of fallout that came out of Chernobyl wasn't even close to the amount of fallout that came out of Chernobyl,
Right.
of Fukushima because of how fucking big compared to that was, and 2 reactors blew up.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't get any bad reviews on this, but we have one of like the leading topic episodes.
Oh yeah, the Dyatlov Pass. We got on that
Dyatlov
train
Pass.
before it
Like,
got.
we're
really-
like on Spotify. We're the #1 podcast for that subject.
That's awesome.
That
Yeah, I
is
feel like I'm glad y'all got on the front end of that because I think it's been fucking way
oh, dude, it's been whipped like the
overkill
goddamn
now.
pony boy.
We actually were ahead of it getting popular. Like, we did it, and then shortly after,
Yeah,
it got really popular.
somebody had pointed me to an episode, but you know, like one of the big 3 that did it before it was like poppin', and I was
Yeah.
like, this is such an interesting story. Like, let's look it up
Yeah.
ourselves and let's do an episode on it because it deserves its own episode. And then we ran with it. We did a lot of research. We actually tried to nail the Russian accents and names. Thought we did a great job. And like it was really informative. And like I was actually really proud of that episode. And by far
There's also a really fucking funny skit in that episode. That's hilarious.
oh yeah, and that's when we were still
Bigfoot alien thing.
yes,
my
yeah.
God. It's so funny.
So
And then-
twice. This has happened to me twice, kind of similar to y'all. Like you got on the front end of that. When I had Andrea Perrin on my show, I didn't realize it, but my show came out the same week as The Conjuring 2 came out.
Yeah, so her name got thrown around and it's like, oh shit.
That shot it up. So when the next Conjuring film came out, I did not plan this. I had Kendall and Vera Welpton on, and they were putting out like the Sleepless Unrest
Yeah.
that they did at the Conjuring house. And it came out when the third Conjuring film came out the same week. My episode did. And I did not plan any
I
of
got
that.
a boost with it too.
We have an episode that every year during Halloween plays go up because we named it Monster Mash.
Yeah. And was that at that episode that we did like a cryptic episode where we just like went
We
through
talked about
shit
monsters.
cryptics? Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we went through like the wiki list of like how many cryptics there are, and it's like A through Z, and we just like fucking rapid fire through all of them.
It's a really good episode. We talk about some crazy
Actually,
stuff.
was cool. Yeah.
It was a marketing strategy to name it Monster Mash. We were like, I think it's like one of our first episodes,
and my daughter could sing it, so it was stuck in our heads.
and we were like naming. This is literally when we changed how we did our titling. We were doing episode 1, episode 2, episode 3.
XVII, you know, like
and then
for a while, and then changed,
and then putting the title. And I was like, well, people aren't typing episode every time they're looking for an episode. They're typing in this like subject they're looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was about to be Halloween. I'm like, if I title this just Monster Mash,
is people gonna find it?
And it gets the most plays we've ever had for an episode.
It did.
It's gonna break my mind. And it did. Like, we released it and it did on Halloween, and it did like 100 plays that day.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? I don't even know 100 people listening.
We'd never broke like 10.
Yeah, that was the nuts part where it's like, and 4 of those were me, Riley, like Jenna, and his sister for sure. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, that's nuts.
So on Friday, you have the tattoo parlor video coming out, which I'm looking forward to watching. So what is on? I know you said you didn't have anything definite, but what is on kind of your list of wants coming up in the future?
The Poorhouse Museum, where we caught the footsteps with Tommy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have that video done here in relatively soonish, probably. And then I don't know exactly when we want to release it. If we're gonna wait till the end of January, if we're gonna try to keep it for February or whatnot. Like, I don't know what exact schedule we're gonna keep with it, but it's very close to being fine-tuned enough to be pushed out to the public. And I'm super excited about that one. And then we have one more that I need to edit with Riley.
Then we have the Poorhouse, which we'll probably start getting to here. Or not yet, Post Town, sorry, the Post Town piece. And then after that, it's whatever we
decide. But where do we want to go for real is the big question. Like, what's the one that
so we will put this Monroe Demon House.
Yeah, the Monroe Demon House is up there. People have been talking about it.
Pretty much like it's gonna happen because I want to go there really bad.
It's not terribly expensive and it's within our reach, very realistically.
Yeah, it's within 4 hours and it's like the most affordable location out there, honestly.
And then I realistically want to hit up a jail, but then like we were saying too, like the Olympia Bookstore, the Fowler Theater, like those are all within reach too, and we can probably hit those within a weekend if we wanted to do more than one, because that's what a lot of people do. Or I think there's a jail that's by the Fowler, I think, that we could also hit
Across the street.
one
yeah.
night to the next night. Yeah.
So busy year coming up for y'all as well.
2020.
Hopefully, that's the plan.
Pedal
Yeah.
to the metal and do it some more and do more investigations to get better.
Yeah,
better
and kind of get back to our roots of doing some of the old podcasting style stuff. We'll probably still do it live, but like it'll be more
slow
what we
it
used to
down
do.
with like double episodes every other week, and like, all right, hey, like we're gonna do a live stream next week. We're gonna take a week to do like we're gonna read some stuff. We're gonna do a topic, so that way it's like, especially for the like the OG podcast listeners, where it's like, I know there's probably a lot of overlays where people are like listening to the podcast, listening to the YouTube too. It's like, oh, well, you're just taking the YouTube sound and putting it on the podcast. Like, are you just not doing the work? Well, no, at the beginning of this, me and Riley wanted to interview people. We wanted to get people's stories out there.
Right.
We didn't realize that the whole climb up, we were going to find so many like awesome things to talk about before people were really interested in being on our show.
Right. We had to build a catalog so that people would respect us.
Yeah, the repertoire had to be. We had to get the briefcase full and then be like, click, like check this out, dog. Like 50 episodes of pure fucking gasoline.
Well, I thank y'all for coming on tonight.
Of course, man. It's always such a fucking blast. Like, I absolutely love just chatting it up with you because we could talk for many more hours about anything. And everything.
Oh yeah,
we only touched a little bit of the fun stuff.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not more lively like with this going on.
Hey,
the whole getting over the sickness thing, I completely understand. It takes so much out of you, even to like to do interviews
to feel regular again.
Draining.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I feel good, but I don't feel like.
I feel good, but I don't feel good.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at. My brain is still, I think, covered in snot. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You're good, but your insides are still snotty.
Yeah. I like the sound effects. I like the sound effects.
I need to just get the soundboard going and start recording these, so I just have them.
I know you got the tools.
I know.
You're only as good as your tools, Trevor, and you're not using one of them.
I've got the Rodecaster, and I could
you got even more tools than I got. I got just like a full like 8-pad sound pad that I can program too. But it's like, gotta hit.
Yeah, this will do 8, and then you can actually do 16 on it. But I have like my intro and outros on there, so they're easy to pop in the episodes.
Oh yes, you just be like,
yeah.
Nice, actually.
Anyway, I guess we'll get off here. We've bored these people long enough. So
you guys are beautiful creatures. I love you.
Yeah. Thank you all for tuning in.
Our show tomorrow, where we have
Between the Void.
Between the Void. Yep. It's gonna be a good one.
It's our first
pretty new group.
Our first
paranormal world
crew on our channel of the year. Now that we've gotten this one out the way. Even though it was long overdue anyway, because these chats are always legendary.
Right. Yeah, we'll talk again here soon, guys. Thank y'all so much for coming on. Have a good night. And everybody go check out What Goes Bump in the Night on all the podcast streams and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah.
And thank y'all all for tuning in, those dweebs and Austin Fearless, Creepy Confidential, all y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out with us this evening. And we'll see y'all here soon. Y'all stay safe out there. Have a good night. We'll see you soon. If I can find my shit here. Thank you for listening to The Unseen Paranormal. Join me next Wednesday with a brand new guest. And please rate, review, share, and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now. This helps more people discover the show. You can connect with me over on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or join us in the Unseen Paranormal Lounge group on Facebook. Until next time, remember, some of the scariest things are unseen. You have come to the end of the